22nd, 2024. It is Wednesday and is at 4:15 p.m. We're at Old Town Hall, 1111 Somerset Avenue, Dayton, Mass. This is the Town of Dayton's Board of Selectmen's regular meeting. This meeting is being recorded. The listing of matters are those reasonably anticipated by the chair, which may be discussed at the meeting. Not all items listed may in fact be discussed, and other items not listed may also be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by law. This is a revised, the original posting was on May 20th, 2024 at 4:04 p.m. We have a call to order, please.
Mark Pacheco, present.
And Peter Karen, present. Nikki will be here at 6 o'clock. Can we all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? And then we, please continue standing. We have a moment of silence right after, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We had 3 residents pass away this week, and we'd just like to take a moment to recognize them. Robin Duat, Jack Rigo, and Lorraine Therian. Thank you. Board of Selectmen have a list of 12 questions that we're going to ask. Do you have any questions about those, Mark?
Peter, do you want me to start our meeting?
Yes, please.
Okay. Do you have the agenda here? Okay, hello everyone. Today is Wednesday, March 22nd, 2024. It is 4:25 p.m. and this meeting is going to be recorded to be published on YouTube. Call to order.
Patrick McGovern, present.
Paul Pacheco, present. We have the resolutions and silence. Okay.
Okay, we have, the Selectmen have questions that we have a list of 12 that we'd like to ask. I understand the Board of Health has their own questions, which most of them are duplicated, so we'll try just to avoid those at all, so that we don't waste everybody's time. So Barbara Katavia is at 4:30 p.m. Hi, Barbara, how are you? How are you feeling? Good. And at this point, I'll let the chairman from Board of Health take over for his questions.
Just as like a moment of procedure, like if the board, like if you, Mr. Chairman, can just approve, like review and approve any of the questions that the board's gonna ask, just so we have those really solidified at the beginning.
Okay.
Would you be amenable to striking a couple? Because 12 is kind of a lot. Is there a couple that we can strike off of this, maybe get it to 10?
Sure. 13, the last question is just if they have any questions for us. So you want to strike 12? Or 2 in general?
If we could strike 2, other,
Yeah.
What numbers do you want to strike?
I'm open to suggestions. So the number 4 is, we kind of have that also for number 11. So I think we could, they're kind of similar.
Okay.
So I think we could strike number 4.
Sure.
Okay.
And I don't care which other one.
I'm happy just striking that.
Okay.
And then my only other question is, at our last meeting, during our update, we talked about interviewing and then taking it under advisement.
Yeah.
But I just want to know, I see it on the agenda to appoint. Is
Right.
it the goal to appoint tonight?
I believe so. We were going to originally call on references, but Paul made a good point that the only references we're going to get are ones that would be positive anyway.
We actually did call.
Oh, you already called on them?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So yes, I believe we should make a decision this evening.
Okay. And are you guys okay with striking 4 and with the list as presented?
I'm okay with it. You okay with that?
Sure. Yeah. We're
Okay.
just looking for any duplicates in between both of them.
I think the 5 that you have, or 6, is in the list that we have.
Yeah.
And just before we approve, my last question is, how do you guys want to tackle this? You each want to do one question and
Yeah.
kind of just rotate?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so with all that said, I'd make a motion to approve the interview questions as presented and to strike question 4.
Okay, I'll step down as chair and second that. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye?
And Peter Karen's an aye.
One question, Peter.
Yep.
Jim's on the interview committee also, should he be up here?
Sure.
Jim, can you come up here?
Jim, do you have a list of the questions? Okay, Barbara, you're up. Sure, come on up.
Aye.
I'm gonna start off, Barbara, since
Oh, you're good right there.
we're all here and
Just don't
it
hit the-
really doesn't matter who goes first.
Hi.
One of the first questions that we have is, why do you want to be a member of the Board of Health?
Well, I never wanted to leave.
You never want to leave.
I never wanted to leave, and you know, I just physically couldn't do it because of my
Sure.
health. But it's been a year and a half.
Yep.
And I'm feeling a lot better. Just started taking care of my horses 100% this week. So I really would like to get back on and see what I can do.
Sure.
Because the solid waste committee, you know, when I was in, we really started that.
Yep.
And I think that's a big help to this town.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Hi,
Hi, Mark.
what do you see as the issues facing the Board of Health?
I think it has to get more in line with the town as a whole. It seems like it's kind of separate and branching off. More communication, I think, with the rest of the town and the boards in town.
Thank you.
Number 3 was an approved question, correct?
Yes.
Hi, Barbara.
Hi, hon.
As indicated in the job description, this position is responsible as a member of a 3-person board to provide leadership, policy direction to the staff of the health department. Describe your leadership philosophy and how this philosophy would inform your approach in addressing these issues facing the Board of Health.
My philosophy is I think the Board of Health oversees and makes some decisions, but I also think it really has to coordinate time with the clerks and the inspector, and has to work, everybody has to work together. It just can't be people button heads. We've got to all work together, all coordinate to get this done.
Okay. Hi, Barbara.
Hi.
How do you work to support employees? Describe your approach to doing this with the Board of Health staff.
Could you repeat the beginning? My ears are clogged because of sinuses.
Sorry, I'm a little hoarse. How do you work to support employees? Describe your approach to doing this with the Board of Health staff.
Well, as you know, I've had hundreds of kids on the farm. I've had a lot of people work for me in construction in the snow and ice. And I've always felt I choose not to tell them what to do. I ask them what to do or advise them what to do. And I feel you get more of a feedback from the people you're working with that way. Sometimes if you demand too much, they're just going to stop and they're not going to do anything. And you have to listen to who you're working with. You can't just decide it's going to be this way. We have to go by laws and regulations, but we have to work together. There's no two ways about this. Okay.
Patrick?
Hi, Barbara.
Hi, hon.
Thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you.
Do you have any management or budgeting experience?
Yeah. Like I said, hundreds of kids have worked on the farm. Quite a few people have worked in snow and ice and construction. The construction I've worked with maybe 7 or 8 towns around. I'm also a Title V inspector, so I have to know all those rules and regulations. I was an installer. I processed butternut squash for Stop and Shop for 35 years. I have race horses, and I work with their trainers very closely. And of course, snow and ice. You have to work with the state, the contracts, and everything that goes along with it.
Thank you.
Barbara, we know that you've been on the Board of Health before,
Yeah.
and Mark wasn't here when you were on the Board of Health.
Right.
But, so we're asking you to describe your past experiences with the board and/or the Massachusetts Department of Health for everybody else who wasn't here when you were here.
You want the story?
Sure.
I talked to Tommy Pyers about, actually, it was the kennel license.
Yep.
I didn't agree that they wanted to charge $1,000. And then he and a couple of the selectmen said, well, why don't you run for the MTC? And I said, I don't want to get into politics. That's never been my thing. I believe I have a company, I have 3 companies in town. It would be too much of a battle getting in. I just don't want people saying, oh, she's at this position, so she gets this done. So I came on board, and I believe my second meeting, or the first meeting, I got up, and there were 3 seats, and I asked our inspector back then, Todd, I'm like, do I sit at that end or this end? And he says, well, why don't you just sit in the middle? You're going to be chairman. I go, oh, no, I'm not. I don't know anything about these meetings or anything. And you guys, you gave me a life jacket. Now you're going to throw me off the boat. And within 2 months, I was chairman.
Good.
I really got thrown into it and was quite a learning experience. And I feel I did a good job. I feel I was open to a lot of things. And like I said, solid waste is one of the best things we did.
Good. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Please describe your experience with Title V and septic systems, and if you hold or previously held any licenses such as inspector or installer.
I am a Title V inspector. I've been an inspector for 25 years on Title V. Installer. I always helped Lenny, so that was 48 years. And then I started pulling my installer's license, because back then you didn't really need an installer's license. And I pulled my installer's license, worked with the engineers, worked with the inspectors, worked with our providers, and I'd say we've done maybe 300 septic installations over the years, if not more, actually. I don't keep track. Makes me feel too old.
Thank you.
Are you next, Jim?
I think so. This position may require fair and unbiased application of public health statutes, regulations, policies, and bylaws. Enforcement may become a problem with some establishments, homeowners, businesses, etc. What skills do you have that would enable you to effectively deal with residents or business owners who do not agree with you?
Business owners, I work with plenty of them in the 3 businesses we had, and a large part of it was with homeowners, installing septics, getting special grants for them, and being a go-between between the town and the homeowner. So everything installation is smooth. We don't have big problems where someone doesn't understand how much this was or why we had to put the septic in a certain area, and also working with all the engineers. That's how I learned to read prints. It was kind of thrown at me, like there's a print and this is this, and, learning on the job.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Although extremely rare, individuals appointed to the Board of Health members must make a commitment to be available for emergencies or other circumstances that require their prompt attention. Do you feel there's enough flexibility in your schedule to be able to meet this commitment?
Definitely. 24/7 I'm available. I'm used to being, when the state calls and says, we want you down here in half an hour with 17 trucks, you move. And same with farm, it's 24/7. So I am so used to that phone call in the middle of the night. It doesn't affect me at all.
Some of this you've mentioned before, but there are a couple other things in here. So there are many facets of public health that are outlined in the job description that require basic understanding of food protection, public health emergency preparedness, community sanitation, minimum housing standards, animal control, stormwater, landfill management, swimming pools, and septics. Please describe any experiences you may have now or have held in the past. I know we talked about septics.
Septics, yes, we did quite a few septics. I also had a food trailer, a very large food trailer. I think it was 7 towns I had licenses in for the food trailer, so I'm very familiar with that. And it was a large food trailer, it wasn't a little teeny one. I had 5 people working for me on that. Basically, I've done a little bit of everything, so that covers a lot of ground. And what I don't know, I try to look into, like I keep taking classes to, upgrade the Title V.
Great, thank you.
Okay.
This last question is a little wordy, so I'm not even going to bother. Can you describe your leadership philosophy?
What?
Your leadership philosophy?
Is basically what I said. I like to work with my employees.
Yep.
Don't get me wrong, I can be very firm at times. I think you all know that. But I want to give them a chance. And I feel it really benefits your company when you have an employee that feels comfortable with coming forward and saying, why don't we try this? And it's 99% of the time, yeah, that's a great idea, let's do it, let's try it.
Sure.
Because, when it's plowing snow and there's a blizzard coming, you're like, let's try this, or we can't go fast enough, it's coming down on us.
Yep.
And the same with leaching fields. So many times you have to change the plans once you get on site. And you have to be able to coordinate with the inspector, with the engineer, with your operator. You have to coordinate everything. It's not just go in and boom, bang, and do it.
Right.
No, and everyone is different. Every single one is different.
Okay, great. How long were you on the Board of Health for?
I think it was about 1.5 years.
Year and a half? Okay,
I think. I don't know. Time goes way too fast for me.
sure. The last question is, do you have any questions for us?
Oh, no.
Not how much you get paid, when do you start, none of those questions?
Well, if I were lucky enough to get, when would I start?
Almost immediately.
Oh, good. That's good.
All right.
That's
Well,
great.
thank you for coming this evening, or this afternoon.
Pardon?
Pay has not changed.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. I don't worry about the pay. That's good. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just one point of order, just
Yeah.
for question 12 now, if we gotta ask everyone the same.
Same thing,
Describe
yep.
your leadership philosophy.
Sure.
Yep.
Is Jonathan here? You have him? If you don't mind.
Mr. Chairman, Karen, can I make a point of order? Just
Sure.
a question is, Chairman Pacheco mentioned that Jim is on the committee,
Yes.
but the Board of Health has never voted on a hiring committee. So I was never informed that Mr. Aguirre was going to be part of this interview process, as he hasn't been part of interview processes with the Board of Health in the past. So I don't know if we can say that he's part of an interview committee that was never discussed amongst the Board of Health, that we were going to form a committee to hire.
It was discussed between me and Chairman Karen. They're the ones that appoint, not us, so.
Okay, no, you guys can be part of the appointing process.
Right.
Mr. Aguirre, there's no offense to him as his position, but it wasn't discussed that he was gonna be part of this interview.
Right.
I was unaware, so I just
Sure.
didn't know if you were aware, because I was unaware.
I was not aware that you were unaware, but we had decided that it was going to be a committee, and the committee was made up of 5 members, and Jim Aguirre was chosen as one of those members to be. Now, whether that was relayed to you, apparently not.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't relayed, nor was it discussed at a Board of Health meeting that we're
Okay.
gonna even have a committee to fill a vacant position that, I understand that we requested the selectmen here just, out of respect that you're the appointing
Right.
authority and then to have a second opinion. Other than that, the Board of Health never discussed having an interview committee.
Okay.
It wasn't published or publicized either, and I questioned that the other day at Town Hall. I said, if you're gonna have 4 people on the interview committee, who would be the tie-breaking vote? But
So
it was not published or publicized.
this is how we lose control of our meetings. So
Yeah.
we've already interviewed a candidate. I will comment, I don't think I was aware, this is what I knew was gonna happen. We're all gonna meet today, but everyone wants to say something, but we have Mr. Gale here, we have an appointment. I'd like to, those things we could have brought up before the first applicant. I wish you said that before Barbara walked in, but,
Mr. Pacheco mentioned that as Barbara was walking up to the podium, so I didn't have the time.
okay, Mr. Gale was
Okay.
walking up to the podium too, though.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
I didn't hear a thing.
All right.
Let's move on. Mr. Gale, how are you?
Pretty well, thank you.
Thank you for coming today. We have about 12 questions to ask, well, 11 questions to ask you. And just going to say that we're under time constraints, so just keep your answers to the questions.
Go for it.
The first question is, why do you want to be a member of the Board of Health?
First of all, I'll make it relatively simple. I think, as you all know, I sit on other committees in town, and once I'm on something, I stay on it for the long haul. I'm willing to ask hard questions. I think if you consider that there are at least 20% of the people in the town who have some sort of a disability, it's important for those folks to have a seat at the table in the Board of Health, because a lot of the health issues that people with disabilities deal with do come under the purview of the Board of Health. I've helped in other many projects. I've worked on projects with the state as it pertains to emergency preparedness for different towns. I've worked to bring in pet care clinics to several different towns. I have spent quite a bit of time working on transportation issues, mass health issues. As some of you know, during COVID, I specifically, in my role as the ADA coordinator, also arranged for several dozen of our town's members to get home care visits so that they could be vaccinated properly. I don't think the Board of Health did that at the time. I took that on because no one else was doing it. And I can proudly say we serviced several dozen residents who were considered homebound at the time. I did that myself. My wife and I drove around and took care of what we had to do. I think that the Board of Health needs to do more to promote the clinics that you offer, such as the blood drives, the vaccinations, things like that. I think that there needs to be more of an overview of asking questions when things come up. I think that sometimes there are a lot of things in town that this Board of Health can do, and I know that through the director currently, things are getting started, things are starting to move along, but I also think it takes people to work on the Board of Health who have some knowledge base of background of budgets, who understand how the budgets of boards of health work, who understand how health policy and procedure should be interpreted as well. I've done that for many years in my capacity. So those are some of the reasons. But I think the other part, as I said, is I think I bring a steady hand of somebody who's willing to ask questions and look for responses and look for answers from people as well.
Okay, thank you, John.
What do you see as the issues facing the Board of Health?
I think that's a loaded question, and I don't mean that sarcastically. I think that there are a lot of things that the Board of Health needs to do to make the town more aware of what it can do. And I'm going to go back to what I said a minute ago, for example, for the blood drives that the town wants to do and that our nurse is doing. The Board of Health has issues communicating a lot of what its requirements are to seniors, to people with disability. People with seniors with disability don't really know what the Board of Health does or what their responsibilities are. I think more oversight needs to be looked at when it comes to what the health agent is doing as well, frankly, with when she goes out or he goes out and does investigations and testing and so forth. So that there are so many different aspects that this covers, whether it's food safety or farm safety. And I think you really need somebody who's going to ask questions of the Board of Health and hold the health agent responsible along with the director and get answers from the director. Why is this? Why is this the way it is? And when I listen, to be honest again, to some of the different meetings at times, what I find is that it doesn't seem at times like the accountability is there. And I'm just being very frank and honest. I think the accountability for what people are doing, this may not get me votes, but I'm being honest. The accountability needs to be there for what people are expected to do and what they should be able to provide. So if you're asking me what I think the Board of Health needs, I think what the Board of Health needs is a steady ship, which is part of the board, if you will, along with the director. And as I said, that seems to be part of the process that's already beginning through the director that's currently there.
Thank you.
Hi, Jonathan, it's Jim.
Yep.
Question, as indicated in the job description, this position is responsible as a member of a three-person board to provide leadership and policy direction to the health department staff. Describe your leadership philosophy and how this philosophy would inform your approach in addressing the issues that we may face with the Board of Health.
So my leadership quality or process, whatever you want to look at it, I come into this process like I would come into anything, knowing that there is more that I don't know than I do know, which means I would be sitting down as much as possible with you to learn about what you do, what your responsibilities are, what your expectations are from the board members, to ask you questions about things that you do, how they relate to the board, how they relate to healthcare policy, not just procedure and going out and doing inspections, but how they relate to policy and procedure. So I would want to learn a lot from you. I'd want to learn a lot from the other members of the board who are currently sitting as to how things, not just how things are run, but what are the things that they look at for expectations? What are the, some of the issues that they have to work on regularly? For example, for several meetings, you guys have talked about the issue with the trash bags. For several meetings, you've talked about issues with billing. For several meetings, you've talked about other issues. These are the kinds of things that I think I'd want to know more about instead of just listening to the meetings about, because they're clearly issues that matter. You know, when there's safety issues that matter that affect our residents, when we have communicable disease issues, things like that. Those are things that I'd want to learn more about. I'd want to work more with the nurse as well for things like the study that she does for drug enforcement and for drug abuse for people with disabilities. I was on that task force for a while. The only reason I'm no longer on that is because for the amount that I'm paid to do my job every month, there wasn't enough hours in the day to be able to do it. So working on that project is something I'd want to do as well, and I'd want to take more direction as much as I could, honestly, from the director. I think the director has the best idea at this point of what are the things that are in the fire, what are the things that are coming up. And my job is to listen, learn, and ask questions as I go. So my strength is listening. Obviously, I'd like to talk, you know that, you can see that. But my strength is also listening and learning and not assuming what I don't know that I think I know.
Thank you. Okay. How do you work to support employees? Describe your approach to doing this with the Board of Health staff.
I think the approach to supporting employees is to ask questions and listen. You have to be willing to listen to what employees are telling you their responsibilities and their jobs are. I don't know everything the director does. I don't know everything the office manager does. I don't know everything that the health agent does, or all the qualifications or certifications that each of them has. So I see my role as listening to what each of them say they do, what they're expected to do, and asking questions. The more I ask, again, you know, it's a learning process. It's a lifelong learning process, frankly, for all of us. So my goal is to listen. My goal is to ask questions. My goal would be to offer suggestions and offer my thoughts. I don't want to use the word advice. Advice comes 6 months down the road after I've hopefully been on the board for a while and I have a much better idea of what I'm talking about. But in the meantime, my goal is to learn and observe, listen, ask questions, and honestly, to be supportive. There are a lot of things that come across the director's desk or the Board of Health's dais that I think, you know, sometimes can create a lot of controversial issues and can lead to community, you know, concerns and so forth. Part of my job is to not to allay the community concerns, but to understand the issues and help the community understand what the Board of Health is doing to address those issues.
Do you have any management or budgeting experience?
Well, first of all, I taught tax law for the state for almost 20 years. So I'm very, very familiar with how to interpret budgets, cherry sheets, put them together, not only interpret them, but how to put them together, how to manage them. I've run a couple of large organizations in my past life. For the state, I ran a program for fuel assistance, which was a multi-million-dollar budget back in the early 80s, which now would be a tens of millions of dollars budget. I have my own corporation, which I have to certainly manage my budget and put it together on a regular basis as well. I think I have quite a bit of budgetary and management experience over the years. I've worked with different programs for supporting individuals with disabilities that have budgetary constraints as well that I've had to work with and manage.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Jonathan, can you please describe any past experience you have working with the local Board of Health or the Massachusetts Department of Public Health?
I haven't worked directly with the local Board of Health except to attend some of the events that they've done.
Okay.
I've worked, as I just alluded to a minute ago, I've worked with the town nurse, with Nicole, on the project that she's involved in to support Narcan and testing and drugs and such drug, use for people with disabilities. So I've worked on that project. I've worked with the Board of Health on a lot of the COVID concerns around the period of vaccination, as I said earlier, by setting up vaccinations for people to have in-home, not only in-home testing, but in-home vaccinations. So I've done that on a local basis. I have worked with FEMA, with different towns on setting up emergency preparedness. I was involved in writing the legislation for FEMA, for interpreting for people with the deaf, for TTY, direct emergency communication, and for providing resources such as wheelchairs and other emergency services. And I was involved in that when I was a legislative lobbyist as well.
Great, thank you.
Please describe your experience with Title V and septic systems, and if you hold or previously held any licenses, such as inspector or installer.
The answer is, to the last two parts, is no and no. And I will say that I don't believe other members who have served either have held licenses in the past. Maybe they've held licenses in the past. I don't know a lot about Title V. I know what I've listened to when I've listened to some of the meetings and so forth. And it was fascinating to learn about the different kinds of sand, for example, that have to be placed under the septic systems, which was really interesting because I have a septic system and I didn't realize that. I always wondered why there was so much sand in the hole before they put it in. Now I understand why there is and what the differences are. But beyond that, I don't have a background in it. I do know that there are a lot of issues with septic at times. I know that there are issues in where it has to be, not only where it has to be placed, but in my own case, a situation where the septic system, when they put it in, wasn't quite at the level it was put. I see roughly about 9 inches below surface, and it wasn't quite there, so it had to be redone. So I've kind of learned a little bit trial by error. I know that there would be a lot to learn and a lot to listen to, and I would require the director and any of the inspectors to give me information on that. Again, the Board of Health members, some of you I know much more about it than I, and I'd be calling on you to give me background information.
Thank you.
It's Jim again, Jonathan.
Yep.
This position requires fair and unbiased application of public health statutes, regulations, policies, and town bylaws. Enforcement may become a problem with some establishments, homeowners, businesses, etc. What skills do you have that would enable you to effectively deal with residents or businesses who do not agree with you?
So I jokingly say, and some of you have heard me say this before, and this is not meant to be sarcastic, when I have to discuss things with people and say things they don't like to hear or necessarily want to hear, I jokingly say because of my visual impairment, I don't have to look at their faces and see the scowls and the comments and things like that. And the reason I say that is because what I've learned over the years, especially as somebody who's had no vision, is it's really important to take an even approach towards how you have conversation with people. The goal isn't to hurt anyone. The goal isn't to make somebody feel bad. The goal is to make people understand a decision that you have to make, why you have to make the decision, and the basis for the decision. And I think if you can help people understand that, even when they don't agree with it, there are plenty of times in my life, I'm 69 years old, I've had hundreds of times where people don't agree with the decisions that I have to make on a daily basis. And part of my responsibility is to explain the process to them, provide them with the backup information, provide them with the resource information. And if they still don't understand it, explain it some more. I think some of you know from some of the things that I've been involved in, even in this own community, I've put countless hours into sitting with residents to explain things that otherwise could have exploded. And in essence, mediated it between myself and the resident in order to avoid things escalating to complaints or lawsuits, things of that nature. I mean, I can't just go into those, but if any of you know some of the things that I've done, you'd be aware that I've done that. I have good success of that in my private practice life, and I've had very good success of that in the things that I've been involved in with town. Especially as an ADA coordinator, there are a lot of residents that will contact me or call me and have different complaints and issues about things. As an example, I'm able to mediate those issues without those residents taking those complaints out of the town to the state or to the federal government.
My turn. Although extremely rare, individuals appointed to the Board of Health members must make a commitment to be available for emergencies or other circumstances that require their prompt attention. Do you feel there's enough flexibility in your schedule to be able to meet this commitment?
Yes. I think I live in the town. I work from home for the most part. I do have to travel occasionally, like others do for work as well. Occasionally I'm out of state for work, but for the most part, I'm in town. If I need to get somewhere, I would potentially ask one of you to give me a ride, or my wife, if she's home, to give me a ride if I have to get there. If it's an emergency, I can probably count on a police officer to give me a ride if it's a real emergency, something like that. I have access up, and you may I'll raise this because it can become a question. My technology, as some of you know, speaks to me. My phone talks to me. My computer, my laptop talks to me. Everything translates to speech. Most of the things that you do that I see, I'm able to listen to in speech. So when you post things online, you post other things. Technology is not an issue. As you all know, I've helped create the Newtown website, which is fully accessible as well. So in terms of getting somewhere, doing something, yeah, there might be things I visually can't see and have to have explained to me sometimes if there's something that's a visual issue. But I would rely on the rest of you or others on the board, whoever they might be, again, the health agent and the director, to share that information with me.
There are many facets of public health that are outlined in the job description that require a basic understanding of food protection, public health emergency preparedness, community sanitation, minimum housing standards, animal control, stormwater, landfill management, and swimming pools. Please describe any experiences or trainings you had or have held in the past. I know we've spoken about septic systems, but anything else along those lines?
So most of the things that you've mentioned already and that you just mentioned, some of those areas I think I've discussed that I have background and expertise in. I am familiar with the minimal housing standards as well. A lot of the work that I do involves working with programs and projects for Section 8 and affordable housing, and I say that specifically in terms of looking at the sanitary component around that. Food safety is not one I can say I'm totally familiar with at this point. I'm obviously aware of different types of testing that need to be done for food safety, for dates of expiration, for how things might smell or look, things like that. If it's a restaurant, the cleanliness, et cetera, what you look for in those kitchen areas. Those are things I certainly need to learn more about. But I think for a lot of the things that you mentioned already, the things that I've done in life, I have a fairly good background at looking at a lot of those areas.
Thank you.
John, just two more questions. One of them is, can you describe your leadership philosophy for us one more time?
Sure. So my leadership philosophy, I think, as I said earlier, is to listen first. I don't think anybody who thinks of themselves as a leader is somebody who's a take charge kind of person. You can't walk in, you can't try to command an audience, you can't try to tell other people what to do. You have to be willing to listen, you have to ask questions, and that's how you learn. Over time, by listening, asking questions, and learning, I think you begin to have a voice, and hopefully by using that voice and asking questions, I don't ever want people to see me as a leader, to be honest with you. I want them to see me as an equal partner. And if they see me as an equal partner who's asking the right questions and expecting results by the questions I asked or by things that need to happen, then that makes me an equal partner. My goal is not to offend anybody. My goal is to never hurt anybody. I will never, again, those of you who know me know that I put an enormous value on privacy and ethics. I have to in the work that I do privately. So I put an enormous value on privacy and ethics. That means that I don't take what I hear as hearsay. I don't go out and have conversations with others. That's highly inappropriate. And I have, not just because this is the Board of Health, but for anything I do, I have a lot of respect for that value of, integrity. That it's gotten me for 69 years of my life. I'm not going to stop it now.
Sure. And do you have any questions for us?
I don't honestly have too many questions. I would probably ask the chair of the Board of Health at this point specifically, what are you looking for in somebody? What's your expectation of the person who you choose?
We're just looking for somebody that bring knowledge to the table and can be reasonable, somebody that, is willing to listen to different things, and we can come up with a good solution. We don't need anybody that is gonna just have their own idea and say, well, that's our way, my way or no way. We want to do this as a team.
And I think I would ask the same question of the director of the Board of Health. What's the kind of person that you're looking for?
I think the chairman and I feel similar. The only thing that concerns me, and it sort of comes through in some of these questions, is Dayton has evolved where they have now put a director in charge of the daily operations of the department. I think the Board of Health has to evolve if that's the direction they want to go. So there needs to be more communication between departmental staff, the board, But quite frankly, I was reluctant to engage in any of those discussions until we had a full board, so that we could all work together, as the chairman said, as a team. So I think we still have some work that needs to be done, but I do think, as you said earlier, we're moving in the right direction.
I think that if I could ask, the other thing I would ask is, to what extent does the board and should the board have in understanding the budgetary process? Because my personal opinion is the Board of Health should have a lot of understanding of what the budget requirements are. What are the needs of the budget? Is it a balanced budget? Do we need to ask for more money, and why? And I'm saying that because, again, as you all know, I've been, listening to different meetings and so forth, and I've heard conversation about the budget, but I haven't heard any specifics ever mentioned, and I'm wondering who's responsible for submitting the budget to FinCom and so forth. Is the board reviewing the budget? I don't hear, do the board members understand the budget? Because I think you should. And I think one of my responsibilities as a board member is to work with the director if I have that position.
What's your question, Jonathan?
My question is, who's responsible for overseeing the budget and managing the budget? Is it the director or is it the Board of Health?
It needs to be both.
Okay, that's what I would hope. That's my question, that's all.
Okay, thank you, Jonathan.
Anything else?
Thank you.
No?
Okay, thank you all.
We're all set.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Can you put them on?
Yes.
Joanne said she was coming straight from work, so.
Mm.
Is Rich here, Gotham?
Aaron's outside now. Do you want to check?
Yeah, and we can take them out of order. If she's not here, I don't want to get too far behind. You going to the Memorial Day celebration?
I'll be there. I don't, I'm
Sure.
not gonna go to Bristol Aggie celebration though.
No. How about the,
I'll be there.
Just need a second, we're trying to reach Julie.
Thanks.
Sure.
I haven't seen anyone yet, it's waiting for an answer.
Yeah. You never know what your day's gonna look like. Be better Nice.
Joanne's down in the lower parking lot, she's headed out.
Perfect. That's awesome, yeah. Probably a lot this spring, yeah. 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 They're in the best hands, that's good. Yeah. If I was a sick raccoon, I'd want to end up in your house. That's awesome. Yeah.
Here's Joanne. Here's Joanne. Oh, okay.
Hi, Joanne.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi,
How are you?
I'm well. How are you, sir?
We're gonna get started right away so we don't get too far behind. So,
Okay.
we have a list of about 12 questions to ask you.
Okay,
We're just
no
gonna go down the
problem.
board. Take your time
Okay.
answering them, but the first one is, why do you want to be a member of the Board of Health?
Well, I've been living in this town for 9 years, and I like this town, and I would like to be more involved with the community.
Sure.
I think it would be somewhere to start.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
What do you see as the issues facing the Board of Health?
Well, we're having new housing developments going in, so I guess water will be an issue, maybe long term. I also think that people need to kind of keep a little bit more tidier around town. I think that, and then there's things like animals as well that will also factor into Board of Health issues, farming, and that kind of stuff.
Thank you.
So, yeah.
Hi, Joanne.
Hello.
I know you came from work, thank you.
No worries.
As indicated in the job description for this position, excuse me, it is responsible as a member of a three-person board to provide leadership and policy direction to the health department staff. Please describe your leadership philosophy and how this philosophy would inform your approach in addressing the issues that may face the Board of Health.
Well, I'm an administration person, but I do have a healthcare background. I've been in medicine for maybe 35 years. I am also a farmer. I have a horse farm here in town. And also I've been an office manager in a couple of positions that I've held. I think that leadership is a big part of a community group. And I think that, it's good to be able to have that, that community group, to be able to come to decisions that will necessarily need to be made with certain issues and topics. And I'm ready for that. I'm ready for that.
My turn. All right. How do you work to support employees? Describe your approach to doing this with the Board of Health staff.
Well, I work for the government. I work for an agency in the government. I'm a very good team player. I think that's important,
Yes, it is.
to have camaraderie and to be able to get along with your co-workers and work together for the greater good. I think that, I would be okay working in a small committee, a small group for the town. I have a lot of qualities to bring to the table with regards to that. So I think that it obviously has challenges because of different personalities, but you kind of have to put those aside sometimes and kind of look at the topic, look at the issue, and try and come to some arrangement where, you can make decisions.
Hi, Joanne.
Hi.
I know you mentioned briefly, but do you have any management or budgeting experience? I know you briefly talked about management.
Well, I've worked in a big bank, so I have a financial background of 8 years working for Santander Bank. But as a manager, I was an office manager years ago in a doctor's office. But I went to school for bookkeeping and accounting, so I do have some financials, but as regards managing the budget, no, not really. But I manage my budget at home, so if that makes any difference.
Can you please describe any past experience you have working with a local Board of Health and/or the Massachusetts Department of Public Health?
Well, when I lived in Westport, I lived in Westport for 15 years, and I built a brand new home on the water. And I dealt with the Board of Health when it came to my Title V septic system. That's really all I've dealt with the Board of Health. They're very good, and very easily accessible. But really, I haven't really dealt with like town committees before. So.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
You kind of already answered this, but please describe your experience with Title V and septic systems, and if you hold or previously held any licenses such as inspector or installer.
I've held no licenses at all, but I do understand how septic systems work. Like I said, we put one in when we built our home. I dealt with the Board of Health with that, and also a septic system company, so I kind of understand how they work and what needs to be done, and how Title V in Massachusetts works. But really, I don't know much else about anything.
Thank you.
That, so.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
They're expensive.
I do know they're expensive. Yes, they're very expensive.
Yep.
And they were like 25,000 back then, which was like 9 years ago. I don't know what they are now. Probably 50, right? Are they?
Pretty expensive.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
This position requires fair and unbiased application of public health statutes, regulations, policies, and town bylaws. Enforcement may become a problem with some establishments, homeowners, businesses, etc. What skills do you have that would enable you to effectively deal with residents or businesses who may not agree with you?
Well, tact and subtlety is something that you have to, adhere to. I worked in HR for quite some time, so I kind of know how to deal with people. Sometimes you have to use reverse psychology as well, because you have to kind of make it sound like it's, their idea on some things. But yeah, I try to handle things in a calm fashion.
Thank you.
And not to get, irate and stuff. So yeah, soft tone is good.
Although extremely rare, individuals appointed to the Board of Health members must make a commitment to be available for emergencies or other circumstances that require their prompt attention. Do you feel there's enough flexibility in your schedule to be able to meet this commitment?
Yes, I do. I have good hours. And like I say, I also own my own horse farm, so, my schedule is flexible to that. I train and I do lessons too, so, yeah. I can juggle things around to accommodate.
Sorry. There are many facets of public health that are outlined in the job description that require basic understanding of food protection, public health emergency preparedness, community sanitation, minimum housing standards, animal control, stormwater, landfill management, and swimming pools and septics. Please describe any experience, training, or certifications you may hold or have held in these in the past.
I don't hold any certifications in regards to any of that, but I do know how to run and manage a farm. I also know how to dispose of manure in a correct fashion, and I also know how to deal with animals and what needs to be done to be able to keep them secure so they're not a nuisance. I also have a pool, so my husband and I, we manage the pool and we test the water and stuff like that. So, you know, that kind of stuff. But I mean, anything to do with like with COVID and stuff like that and sanitary conditions, you know, I worked throughout the whole COVID 3.5, 4 years. So I understand, like, you know, how to deal with COVID and with any what's the word I'm looking for? Pandemic, in the way that you know, you sanitize your hands and you keep everything clean and tidy. And I also work in a healthcare unit with hospice and palliative patients. So, you know, we are constant with food and fridge temperatures and stuff like that. So, to keep the unit clean. And I work alongside the infection control at work to be able to manage that. So I think I have a good handle on healthcare situations,
Thank you.
you know.
Joanna, you answered this question previously, but can you just describe your leadership philosophy again?
My leadership philosophy is that you take the situation, you have camaraderie with your co-workers, your team players, to kind of come to a resolution on a decision that needs to be made. My leadership is teamwork. I'm a big team player, so even though like a leadership role would have me like having, you know, peers, incumbents,
Sure.
you kind of learn to listen to everyone. You know, everyone's voice gets heard, and you can kind of address the situations based on, you know, conversation.
Great, thank you.
So, you know.
And do you have any questions for us?
No, I don't. I'm super
Okay.
nervous. Can you tell?
That's okay.
I didn't expect this. I have to tell you, I did not expect this. I'm like, oh.
All right, well, you're all set with us. Thank you
Okay,
for stopping
great.
by.
Thank
for
you
your
so
time.
very much.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Joanne.
Have a good night, guys.
You too.
Thank you.
Oh, it's warm in here.
Yeah, it is.
Yes.
Did it reach 88 degrees today?
Oh, I'm not sure.
Oh, yeah, it
Yeah,
was supposed to.
looks- That's crazy. My girls got to enjoy the outdoors. Oh, that's not cute.
Oh, adorable.
Yeah. Yep. Maybe we'll have a real one next year.
I think so.
Hopefully, yeah.
Yeah, that's good enough for now.
Yeah. Yeah, they enjoy it.
You don't remember the Lees, do you? Who lived across the street from us?
Oh, no.
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 You know Dick and Elaine, right?
Mm-hmm.
Their mother and father lived in the middle house, and then the house directly across the street from me, their other son and his wife lived there.
Okay.
And one year, they didn't have a pool. It was so hot that they took a tarp and put it in the back of their flatbed truck. Not
Oh.
flatbed, their pickup truck. And filled it with
Beautiful.
water and just sat in it.
Hey, that's the way to do it. Yeah. Just make do with what you have.
Yeah.
No, I gave you a name. I gave you a name, because he says, who's the
Hi, Richard. How are you?
Hi, living the dream. How about yourself?
Same thing.
That's somebody is.
Richard, we have about 12 questions to ask you. We're just going to get started in the interest of time right away, if that's okay.
That's good by me.
And my first question, or our first question, is why do you want to be a member of the Board of Health?
Well, I want to help the town. I always liked serving on the boards.
that I have in the town, the committees, different commissions that I've been doing. I had to give it up in about 2017. Family life was just taking over a lot of time.
Sure.
But now I have a little bit of time to give back, and I believe that I do have an area of expertise and some knowledge in the duties of the Board of Health and what they do, and just like to be able to give a little something back and do something for the citizens of Dayton.
Okay,
Just to continue that volunteer type stuff.
great, thank you.
Thank you.
What do you see as the issues facing the Board of Health?
Board of Health. Well, a lot of the development that's occurring. There are a lot of different stormwater issues that are going to be coming up, and a lot of different health issues based on the development of the town and the growth of the town. I mean, there's a lot of things that are going to be happening. A lot of developments that are in the works, things we haven't even heard about yet, things that are already there. And there's always going to be a constant attention that's going to need to be paid to this growth in the town in all aspects of the health department itself, including any new restaurants that may come in, that sort of thing, any kind of material spills with increased traffic, going out and looking at and inspecting areas for health concerns, and just trying to stay on top of things with all the activities that are happening going forward. Just trying to stay on top of stuff, I think, is the biggest challenge.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Hi, Richard. As indicated in the job description, this position is responsible as a member of a three-person board to provide leadership and policy direction to the health department staff. Please describe your leadership philosophy and how this philosophy would inform your approach in addressing the issues that may face the Board of Health.
I've always believed in leading from the front, but a collaborative effort. You have to be a leader, but you also have to take into account everybody's opinions. You have to understand where people are coming from and understand that if they care enough to speak up, they have a valid point on their side. And so you need to always bring that into account and give it a fair hearing, either way. I lead by collaboration. You come up with a consensus based on all the parties that are involved, and then you try to drive it forward. Now that you have the information, you have a good, rounded view of what's going on, you can start to lead. You can start to plan things based on the information you have, because now everybody has buy-in. You've created that consensus relationship, and now people are like, all right, he's listened, he's taken us into account, let's move forward with what he wants to do. I've done that throughout my career as well, and I've been in a lot of different leadership positions, having been in charge of the Amtrak Control Center in Boston, where you have to have a collaborative effort to get the job done, keep the trains moving, and also in any situations that come up, like we've had fuel spills, environmental hazards, trespasser instances, all of these things where you need to be able to coordinate this stuff and make split-level decisions to start with, but also make sure you have a knowledge of everything that goes into it, being able to bring all of the different people together. But at the end of the day, you need to lead. You need to drive the effort and get the job done. And that's the way I look at leadership.
Good. Okay. How do you work to support your employees? Describe your approach to doing this with the Board of Health staff.
Again, it is a collaborative effort. You need to be a leader and not a dictator, and never think that your opinion is the only one and that your knowledge is the only skill set. The day you believe that you know everything is the day you should hang it up, because you don't.
Right.
You're always learning. You're always taking that into consideration. You need to be able to change your mind. So leading the team that way and working that way, you bring that to the Board of Health as well. Okay, you listen to the public, and that's the biggest thing. We're here for the public. It's what we're doing. Right? You've got to bring all of that back into it, work with that, and then lead with the knowledge of the board, because everyone's going to bring a different skill set in. You know, everybody is going to have a base level skill set, but there's going to be subject matter experts in different things. You need to bring all that into play.
Very good answer.
So do you have any management or budgeting experience?
I do. Management experience goes back to 1994. Beginning management as a rail traffic controller or train dispatcher, I'm in charge of managing a number of different people that work and control and operate the trains themselves. So that begins a management experience where you begin to coordinate all that. You give them directives. Again, it's a team effort, but that you have to lead the team. Again, it all goes back to the teamwork. Everybody knows their job, and you know who the strong players are and the weak ones are, and you work together with all of them. I have brought that through. In Boston, I was in charge of the train movement office up there, and that you're in charge of, you know, literally in charge of hundreds of employees, commuter, rail employees, Amtrak employees, the train dispatchers, the rail traffic controllers, the engineering department, everybody that works out there. At the end of the day, everything ends up going through you if there's a question or a conflict or just coordination efforts, because everybody needs this done or that done. It's like general contracting, a house, this, that, everything else. You need to manage the team, again, by consensus, by teamwork, by knowledge, all right? But also, at the end of the day, you have to be able to make decisions and live with it. As long, my philosophy has always been, if somebody makes a decision based on good information, they made an intelligent choice, but it didn't work out, I don't hold that against them. That's what you do. You want to make sure that people have the initiative and are able to act on that. And that's what I always manage by. People would say, what do you want me to do? I say, what do you think you should do? Well, I think I should do da-da-da-da. And in my mind, if I have consensus with it, if I don't have any kind of a problem with it at all, I'll be like, then go with that and see what happens. I have your back if it doesn't work, but you're making it based on good information.
Great, thank you. Can you please describe any past experience you have working with the local Board of Health or the Mass Department of Health?
I don't have any direct experience working with the Board of Health or the Mass Board of Health itself. I have, tangentially, I am the certified pool operator for Papa Squash. So I do have a working knowledge of the regulations and the laws and everything else, and I've worked through that and worked with the board and the representatives of the board to reach conclusions as far as getting our permit on a yearly basis and that sort of thing. But as far as any other experience with the Board of Health, that's pretty much it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Please describe your experience with Title V and septic systems, and if you hold or previously held any licenses such as inspector or installer.
I do not. And the only experience I have with a Title V at this point is I had one done when I built my house.
Beautiful.
So, and I went through that process, and that was a very interesting one, learning about the perks and everything else. Now, it's very limited experience, to be sure.
Right.
But I did take to it, and I did understand it, and I brought myself up quick on to learn as much as I could, because I don't want to just be blindsided by things. I'm a quick study. Went through it, understood it, and was able to speak intelligently about it. But again, that's one thing. What I can say is that give me something like that, and I'm a quick study. I take the ball, I run with it, and I will bring myself up to speed in short order.
Awesome.
It's that kind of thing.
This position requires fair and unbiased application of public health statutes, regulations, policies, and town bylaws. Enforcement may become a problem with some establishments, homeowners, businesses, etc. What skills do you have that would enable you to effectively deal with residents or businesses who may not agree with you?
Okay, kind of in my wheelhouse for a number of different things. What I do now is I'm in charge of training, regulatory training, auditing, operating practices for Amtrak. So my job is to make sure people learn the rules, follow the federal regulations under the CFR, and make sure that the rules and regulations are applied fairly. I have written rules for railroad operation. I'm on committees that do that for all the railroads in the Northeast. So my point is that the rules, and that's the way I look at it, and it might be a little bit, hyperbole for when we're talking about local laws, but when we're talking about like railroad regulations, rules, and that sort of thing, the rule book is written in blood. It is, because a lot of what happens out there is very dangerous. So what I take to heart is that if there's a rule, there's a regulation, there's a law, there's a reason for it. It's there for a reason. It's there not to be like given a wink and a nod and that kind of a thing. If somebody is not following the law, you give them a chance. You tell them, listen, you are not following this. This is the law. This is what you need to do. You're fair. You hear them out. You talk to them. At the end of the day, if they're not going to take the advice or the direction that is needed, you have to hold their feet to the fire. You just have to do it. It's what we're here for. If we're not going to enforce what the rules and regulations are, what are we doing?
Thank you.
Welcome.
All right. Although extremely rare, individuals appointed as Board of Health members must make a commitment to be available for emergencies and other circumstances that require prompt attention. Do you feel there's enough flexibility in your schedule to be able to meet this commitment?
Absolutely. I set my own schedule now for, basically, I'm given free rein to set my schedule as I need to get my job done. The folks that call the shots basically say, keep doing what you're doing, and we'll let you know if we need you to change. In other words, I can schedule around things that do come up. Much of my work is in Providence, and if I needed to drop what I'm doing, most of what I can do, I can postpone if something needs me right away. So I'm, 40 minutes away if necessary. I do work in Boston, and there are times I travel up and down the Northeast, so there are going to be times I'm out of town. But for the most part, I am available and I'm able to respond, you know, maybe not within 10 minutes, but usually within an hour or two if necessary.
There are many facets of public health that are outlined in the job description that require a basic understanding of food protection, public health emergency preparedness, community sanitation, minimum housing standards, animal control, stormwater, landfill management, swimming pools, and septic systems. Please describe any experience, trainings, or certifications that you may now hold or have held in the past.
I am a certified trainer for FDA standards for onboard personnel. We serve food on the trains. We have lead service attendants that prepare food, and we have the train conductors that are their direct supervisors. We have to provide training to them and update them every 2 years. It's required by the FRA and also the FDA to bring them through additional one-day training. They do get about 3 days initially, and then this happens every 2 years. So I have developed, along with partners at Amtrak, developed presentations for FDA standards, which are pretty standard when you're talking about the health of, and you're talking about establishments like that. It is all the cross-contamination, temperatures, all this type of thing for the FDA itself. So it's not an external certification, but it is an internal one from Amtrak, and it is recognized by the FDA. Beyond that, certifications, outside certifications, nothing. However, as far as hazardous material releases and that sort of thing, I have developed a training plan, and again, we're required, because we run freight trains out there. We run hazardous materials of the kind that if something goes wrong, you have another East Palestine, Ohio kind of thing. So we have to instruct our crews, along with the freight train crews, in ERG, Emergency Response Guide Information, response, and communications, both for the train dispatching center, the rail traffic control center, so they know how to coordinate efforts to get people out to a spill or an incident. It dovetails with the IMCS and also the communications part of passenger train emergency preparedness, where communications is key. Who do we call? How do we get people out there? How do we coordinate this? How do we hand off the response to the local agencies when they get there? All right, it's not an external certification, but again, it's recognized by the Federal Railroad Administration as being a hazardous material response qualification.
Thank you.
Great. Just 2 more questions. The first one is, you've already answered this, but can you do it one more time? Describe your leadership philosophy.
My leadership philosophy is collaboration, but leading from the front. In other words, you get all the stakeholders, you talk to them all, and you make sure that you have all good information, all right? Once you have this information, you work as a team and you lead the team. You provide direction, okay? The direction, you start the ball rolling, and then everybody helps keep that ball rolling, and you continue to provide the direction to make sure that you see a goal, you have these tactical goals in the way to the ultimate strategic goal. And you want to keep the team going, and you want to make sure they're motivated, and you want to make sure they have skin in the game, as it were, to make sure that their opinions are valid and being considered. And at the end of the day, when you lead the team helps push you along as well. You know, you all work together this way. And if decisions need to be made, they need to be made, and you make them. But when you make a decision based on that teamwork and you've led the team, you can be confident that even if that answer turns out to be something that was not what the desired outcome might have been, you did everything you could to lead the team and come up to an informed, educated, bought into decision that you made. And you can make it with confidence. Not every decision is going to be 100%. If you think that's going to happen, that doesn't work that way.
All right, thank you.
Yes.
And the last question is, do you have any questions for us?
I guess the one question I wasn't clear on, what is the term? Is it a 1, 2, or 3 year term?
A one-year term.
It's a 1 year term. Okay. And usually it's one meeting a month, but again, you have the occasional special meeting like you have tonight.
Right.
All right. I really don't have any other questions. I did kind of research this pretty well over time, so I think I'm comfortable with the position itself.
Okay. Well, thank you for your time, sir.
Great. Thank you, everybody, for
Thank
your
you,
time
Richard.
as well.
Thank you.
You don't have a list of questions for this school positions, do you?
No,
We just,
whatever, yeah, because it's
Okay.
not employment.
By the time you get back, so I've waited this long. I don't know if he's been Saturday or not Friday.
Hello?
Hi, Kyle. How are you?
Kyle, we're just gonna jump right into it. Is that okay with you?
Yeah.
All right, great. First question is, why do you want to be a member here of the Board of Health?
Well, I just moved to Dayton. I figured I
Okay.
could help out. You know, seems like you guys need a little help, and I'm in the right field.
Yeah? Okay. Great, thank you.
Awesome. What do you see as the issues facing the Board of Health?
I don't know yet. I'm gonna find out.
Okay.
How are you?
How are you doing?
Good. Good.
My question is, as indicated in the job description, this position is responsible as a member of a three-person board to provide leadership and policy direction to the health department staff. Please describe your leadership philosophy and how this philosophy would help inform your approach in addressing the issues that may face the Board of Health that you may learn.
I guess I'm just gonna do my best to help you guys and, you know, figure out what knowledge I know and that may help you or may not, and, you know, what I need to learn to progress to, you know, eventually be a functioning member of the Board of Health.
All right, hi, Kyle.
How are you?
Good. How do you work to support employees? Describe your approach to doing this with Board of Health staff.
I work to support employees. I guess just help out the best you can. I mean, you know, be teachable,
Right.
you know.
Do you have any management or budgeting experience?
Management? No, not really. I mean, budgeting as much as just like my own budgeting. That's about, you know, but nothing crazy though.
Thank you.
Kyle, can you please describe any past experience you have working with the local Board of Health or the Mass Public Health Department?
I did septic systems for a while, so we, you know what I mean, had to get them inspected by the
Sure.
Board of Health. So I've definitely met a bunch of Board of Health agents.
Mhm.
Would meet them at jobs to make sure everything was all set. You
Right.
know? And then now I do wastewater, so I'm working with, you know, towns. I was in Air, I was in Littleton, I did one in Ipswich, and we're always working with the town with, you know, Board of Health and
Right.
you know what I mean? I don't get tied in, I'm a laborer, I don't get tied into like the meetings and stuff
Sure.
like that, of course, but, you know, I'm starting to, I've been there 2.5 years, so starting to learn like, you know, more about wastewater and. you
Right.
know,
Okay.
so.
Great, thank you.
All right. Please describe your experience with Title V and septic systems, and if you hold or previously held any licenses such as inspector or installer.
No licenses, but I did install for a while, obviously under somebody else, you know what I mean? Again, I was a laborer, but,
Right.
you know, how they're put together, how everything works. I know pump systems, leaching fields, blueprints, I can read blueprints. I've done probably 20 or 30 septic systems. All the PVC, the different variations of leaching fields. I've done probably 5 or 6 Title Vs, so I understand how a Title V is, you know, you have to make sure the system is working. And,
Right.
yeah, I think that's about it.
Thank you.
So you said Title V, so those are systems from Massachusetts?
Yep.
So this position requires fair and unbiased application of public health statutes, regulations, policies, and town bylaws. Enforcement may become a problem with establishments, homeowners, businesses, etc. What skills do you have that would enable you to effectively deal with residents or businesses who may not agree with you?
I've been dealing with angry customers for quite a while, actually. You know, I landscaped for a while, so, you know, every now and then you gotta talk them off the ledge, you know, but, you know, you kill them with kindness. It's, you know, do the best you can, you know. Try not to lose your cool, well, you know, they lose theirs.
That's important.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Although extremely rare, individuals appointed as Board of Health members must make a commitment to be available for emergencies or other circumstances that require their prompt attention. Do you feel there's enough flexibility in your schedule to be able to meet this commitment?
Yeah, I believe so.
There are many facets of public health that are outlined in the job description that require basic understanding of food protection, public health emergency preparedness, community sanitation, minimum housing standards, animal control, stormwater, landfill management, swimming pools, and septic systems. Please describe any experience or training or certifications that you may hold or have held in the past for any of these.
I don't have any certifications, but I do know septics and job sites. I would have to do research when it comes to like the restaurants and, you know, grease traps and stuff like that. Swimming pools, I've done one in construction. Like dug a pool and we did all the forms and all that, but I honestly don't know a lot about pools. Be more construction, septics, you know what I mean?
Thank you.
Great. 2 more questions. Real easy for one of them. But can you describe your leadership philosophy one more time?
I forget what I said now.
It's okay.
Leadership, just trying to be teachable and, you know, you're gonna be able to learn even from helpers and stuff. Sometimes you can learn, you know what I mean, tricks and tips from anybody, you
Sure.
never know, you know, so, I guess I've never really been much of a leader, you know what I mean? I've always been working for somebody. I've never owned a company or anything,
Sure.
so
Absolutely.
tough one to answer.
Okay. All right, and do you have any questions for us?
No, not at the moment.
All right, well, thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you, Todd.
Here.
Thank you, Kyle.
How would you like to proceed,
You
gentlemen?
can stop, Pete.
Well, we have some good qualified candidates. I think, starting with Barbara, she certainly comes with a lot of knowledge and experience, and I guess I'm concerned about the way she left the first time. I don't remember the exact circumstances. I knew she said she was on here for a year and a half. Jonathan Gale gave some great answers. I think they were a little off topic sometimes, but for the most part, he had the right answers. Joanne, I think, is very nice, but I don't think she has the leadership qualities that we might be looking for. Richard has a vibrant personality. He
What was that?
has a vibrant personality.
Oh, okay.
He certainly comes with a lot of experience. And Kyle, I think, is just not right for the Board of Health yet.
I would suggest that the Board of Health makes a recommendation, as they've done in the past, and then, once they are done, we can make our motion and we can take their recommendation or not.
Sure.
Okay.
Would the
Yeah.
chairman's like me to step down? Or I'm not gonna be part of this vote.
Why not?
Well, yeah,
I'm on the Board of Health.
Correct.
Okay.
but then it's just a really.
Then if there's a tie, then we'll have an issue.
Okay, I know.
They don't have to recommend somebody.
Yep.
Well, if we don't have to recommend, why don't we just go, the five of us, and go through it? Like, we're joint doing it together anyways.
I feel like the law is we appoint and you recommend, that's how we've done it.
Yeah, but we're a
and
committee, so it would be a little bit different.
So I just
Well-
prefer we follow that process.
I will step down, I'm not on the board. I concur with the chairman's
Okay.
sentiments, and as the director of the health department, I think Richard Gunter is the right choice.
Okay.
Viewing all the candidates, I think Barbara Catavia comes with the most amount of stability and experience in the Board of Health and how to operate the Board of Health. I think that the Board of Health has lacked a lot of leadership capabilities and a lot of knowledge of Board of Health statutes and laws, so I think she would be the best fit for us. I thought Jonathan Gale was a close second with his knowledge and his ability to research. I agree with Mr. Karen about the remaining three. My suggestion would be Barbara Catavia.
Okay. All right, I think we had a lot of strong candidates. Just to cut through it, I think that Rich Gunther has sat on boards before. He has no experience. And I think he's got a lot to bring to the table. I think he's enthusiastic about it. I realize Barbara does have a lot of experience. I also realize, she did quit and whatnot. And I think there's other motives why. So I'm just gonna make my motion. I think that it should be Rich Gunther.
You have to look to your board.
I think it should be Rich Gunther.
Okay. Well, I disagree. I think it should be Barbara Catavia. She didn't quit. She resigned due to medical issues.
One of the things is, we were formed as a committee to make a recommendation to the Board of Selectmen. So we are part of that committee. So
Right.
we have an obligation to make a,
So you come back up.
as being part of the committee, you have an obligation to come up with a name, and then it'll be the selectmen who decide who is going to be. But that's why we were formed as a committee.
We have a joint meeting with the Board of Health. The Board of Health has always done a recommendation to the Board of Selectmen, and under Mass General Law, which I could look it up, and then a further town meeting vote that define the term and the structure of the board, we make the motion to,
We
take it or we don't.
We would still make that motion.
But
It
we-
would still come to the Board of Selectmen to appoint.
But we didn't make a motion to have a committee. We had a joint meeting. We don't have
The committee
any.
was formed by the selectmen and, at the time, the two members of the Board of Health. One of the selectmen reclused herself, so we could not, that's why Jim was appointed to be the fifth member.
That committee was never completely
Okay.
run through the Board of Health, so
This is-
I don't understand how that's a committee.
This is news to me. Was there ever a motion at a selectmen meeting on that?
We've
No.
never made a hiring committee in the past when we filled other vacancies.
Sure we
We've never
have.
voted on a,
That's
Never-
how,
we've
that's
never
how
voted on a hiring
Joanne was appointed. There was a committee.
Right.
there wasn't a
And-
committee. We had asked for a special meeting with the Board of Selectmen to participate in that interview process. There was never a formal discussion amongst the Board of Health to form a committee. I'm just concerned if that's a possible way to create a committee without informing the entire board.
Okay.
It just looks like it's, so even on the Board of Health agenda, it says joint meeting with the Board of Health. So that's how it's posted, as a joint meeting. So that's what the public was informed of. Walking in today, that was my understanding, that it's a joint meeting.
Right. Which we've had in the past. In the past hiring, we've had joint meetings.
Thank you.
Okay. It's not an issue worth dying over. Okay, so you guys have two choices. Either you can agree or present both names, and the selectmen are gonna have to decide.
Okay, I will present Rich Gunther.
What would you like to do? Do you have a preference?
Okay, so there was no recommendation that the Board of Health agreed on.
Correct.
So moving on, first I want to thank all of the candidates who came out and interviewed with us. We're so lucky to have 5 candidates who were willing to interview and are interested in the Board of Health. Thank you to the Board of Health for coming out tonight and collaborating with us. It's nice when we can all get together.
You're welcome.
And I really want to reiterate, I think we had 5 really good candidates. With that said, there was only one candidate who has served on the Board of Health, so I think that they could have a running start. It is no better experience than actually being a member of the Board of Health. So with that said, I'd like to make a motion to appoint Barbara Catavia to fill the unexpired term of the Board of Health.
Okay. I would step down and second that nomination. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
And Peter Cameron's an aye. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Barbara here.
So just for clarification, my motion was to fulfill the unexpired term. So when we come back for appointments again, and at our next meeting or in a couple of weeks, just to follow that town meeting vote, we have to reappoint. Okay,
Yep, on end of June.
end of June.
Okay,
Want to adjourn your meeting?
yes, can I get a motion to join?
I make a motion to adjourn the Board of Health out of this meeting.
Okay, I'll second.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, it is
Okay, is
5:55.
Nicole still here?
She does sign.
Okay. All right, let's
Very good.
move on. Hi, Nicole.
Oh my God, it's humid in here.
Yeah, it is. Do you have a packet?
No, not yet.
Oh, okay.
Karen probably has one for me. Who'd we, Peter, who'd we end up with? Who'd we end up with? You're fucking kidding me, right?
They're all live mics right now.
They're all what?
They're live mics. It didn't work.
Okay.
That's the other side.
Thanks.
to do appointments for the school. We need 4 out of the 5 people who are here.
Oh,
Right, right,
Unless we want to vote to make it.
no, because we have to go with what
right.
we originally said.
Mike said that we could go with 5.
Oh, we can?
If we chose to.
Oh, okay.
I'm not saying we should.
No.
Right now, we need 4 people.
Do you have
Okay.
a second pen, or I think mine's gonna die. If not, it's not a big deal.
Oh, okay.
Okay, thank you.
It's really hot in here. All right, all these I don't need.
Thank you. All mine, thank you.
Yes,
What's that?
yeah, Karen told us.
Okay. Yeah.
Karen, do you have I don't know if I have like oh, I have it, sorry.
I think I have 2 of everything. Yeah.
Well, if I don't have something, I'm going to ask you.
Okay.
Hi, Mark. Good.
That's all right. I don't have anything for Amy, do you?
For what?
Amy, for the school department?
McGurn? No, she did. I read stuff.
Don't listen to me.
Don't listen to me. I only read over it today. But I could have sworn I saw something.
How you remember the best?
I don't know about that.
Oh, I have it. It's just, yeah, it's just a 1 page.
These windows open in here? Oh, all right.
But I just had Elizabeth do it for us.
It is. Oh, yeah.
So you might get a breeze.
Oh, there's no screen. It's all right. Yeah. It's okay.
Okay, can everyone please be seated? We're going to start again. Mr. Haig, you're up.
Good to go?
Yes, sir. Whenever you're ready.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, honorable board members,
Hey, guys, can you please be quiet? Thank you.
start over. Mr. Chairman, honorable board members, I appear before you this evening to invite you to our Memorial Day ceremony, which will be held May 27th at 10 a.m. right here. And I'd like to invite all the residents of Dayton to join us. And I'm going to leave this proclamation from the governor.
Yep,
That you can read at the
certainly.
ceremony.
Okay. And I understand it's rain or shine, correct?
Rain
I
or
guess-
shine, we don't give up, we march on, yep. Rain or
Okay.
shine, so we expect you guys to be there, rain or shine. You will. Okay.
Thank you, Ray.
All right.
Any questions?
Bye.
Thanks for putting this together. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move right on to interviews for the school committee, school building committee. Ruth Adams is first. Ruth, hi, how are you?
It's actually Ruth Adams Texera.
What's that? I'm sorry.
It's actually Ruth Adams Texera.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Nope, that's fine. That's not usually the part that gets dropped off.
Yeah, I think,
Well, it's kind of how they wrote it. It's kind of a little
Yeah.
weird.
oh, yeah. How are you? Good? Good. All right. Why do you want to be on the building committee?
You know, I've retired about 2 years ago.
Yeah?
I retired as the Director of Park Improvements for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Department of Conservation and Recreation. It is right in the travel lane of what I've always done for that agency.
Sure.
And have the time and have been on other building committees for the town and thought it was a good way to contribute to the town.
Right. What other building committees have you been on?
The middle school, and then when they did some improvements at the elementary school.
Okay.
So it's been a while.
Yeah.
And our children went through schools here. We've been thrilled with how that has helped them. And just want to make sure that that goes to the next generation.
Great, thank you. Nicole, do you have any questions?
No, I love to see that you were a retired engineer.
Yeah.
It was definitely helpful.
Yeah, I mean, it's on my resume, but,
Yes,
you know,
absolutely.
literally hundreds of projects.
Right.
You know, from little tiny ones and ones that require participation from other groups, user groups, public agencies other than the one I belong to. So, things like that, so.
I think you have a lot to offer the building committee there. Certainly somebody with your experience would be an asset for them. Mark, do you have any questions?
Just one. What did you do to prepare before you came to see us this evening?
What did I do to prepare? Not being funny, but I was working in the yard all day, so it was like taking a really good shower was in line. But I didn't really prepare anything special for the board, just I had sent him my resume for you guys, and
So as a follow-up, the MSBA, do you know what that, are you familiar with the MSBA?
yes,
Yes,
yeah,
thank you.
so, okay,
Great,
Thanks.
thank you.
Thank you.
thank you.
Amy McGurran? Not here?
Zoom? No? We know these Zoomers?
I don't know. Would the
Okay.
We did email everyone like on Friday morning and invited them.
Okay.
Okay. Mr. Perry?
Good evening.
Hi, Bob. How are you?
Up and moving.
Good. You ready for Monday?
Yes. Well, no, I'm going to be with my biological family this Monday, not my military family. It's sort of a real special time for our family, so I'm
good.
going to miss it.
Great. Same question. Why do you want to be on the building committee?
I was a teacher for 12 years.
Right.
And when I started, it struck me that the future of our nation is in the classrooms. And as such, we should provide an environment that gives the kids every opportunity to succeed. If they succeed, we succeed, the nation succeeds. And I feel very strongly about that. And that's one of the reasons why I want to be on the committee to help, create that environment.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
I don't have any questions.
No questions for Mr. Perry?
What did you do to prepare for this interview?
I thought about a lot of scenarios. And I'm going to be very upfront with this, because I've thought about this one a lot. We talk about a school system. Well, the system consists not only of the facility, but the administration, the instructors, transportation. And you have to look at that, and you have to look at the community. And the community has a finite number of dollars. And one of my objectives is, as I mentioned, is to try to be part of the best type of environment we can give the kids for them to succeed. But we live in a community that's probably 30% or so retired on fixed income, so we've got to kind of have a balance there. We're going to take the assets that we have, see how we can use them, and then what do we need to add to that. Those are the things I thought about today.
Thank you. Are you familiar with the MSBA?
No, I'm not.
Okay, thanks.
That's, you have a wealth of knowledge, as I think everybody up here is aware. And again, I think you'd be a great asset to the building committee as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kevin, Mr. Smith, how are you? Sorry to keep you waiting all afternoon.
You threw me off.
Same question. Why?
Having two kids, you know, pass through like I did in my volunteer form. Having two kids that pass through the school, one with and one without disabilities, I think I have a unique perspective of how we need to move forward. And then also I have, you know, a pretty good wealth of construction knowledge that I think will help with the process. And then to echo Mr. Perry's thoughts, I still realize where we live, and I want to make sure that we have a group of people that can be a driving force to make sure that we have an improvement, and whatever the best option is, both to make sure our kids can learn and grow, but also something that we can afford. I mean, that's like a top priority for me, is I want to make sure we get something done. I don't want to take, you know, we all lived through the BP process, and I heard the residents' concerns throughout that of what, you know, wants versus needs and things like that. So I want to bring that perspective to the committee as well.
Thank you.
I don't have any questions for Kevin. I have questions, but none pertaining to this.
Mr. Pacheco.
What did you do to prepare for this interview?
I have followed along with the whole school building committee process. I've listened in or have attended meetings where this has been discussed. So I've been trying to keep up to speed to have this opportunity to apply. And then I went through potential questions in my head to be prepared. But
Awesome. Are you familiar with the MSBA?
yes, I am. I followed that since this process has began for our town.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin. Alicia. Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, thank you. You probably know the question already.
So the reason that I wanted to get involved was, first and foremost, I have a daughter who's in the school system. She's in the first grade. And I see a lot of stuff that goes on in the school and wanted to participate in a way that I thought could be meaningful and kind of voice all the kids and the parents' concerns about things that have gone on. I've also been on the Brockton School Committee and gone through this process before, so I kind of know the lay of the land as far as a lot of it goes. But like Kevin said, I also hear the concerns of the community and things that they do and don't want to see happen with the school, and understand the budget constraints as well. So I understand those concerns and how it's a balancing act. So I wanted to be able to help weigh both sides of it and voice those opinions on the committee.
Great, thank you.
So I think you answered one of the question I had. I saw the Brockton School Committee, and I was going to ask if you had went through a process similar to this while serving on there. Yes, I did. I actually went through one process with the MSBA, and then also there are several school kind of rehab projects that I went through as well while I was on the committee.
So was there a complete build of a school and then some just
Yes.
rehab? Okay.
Yes.
That's great.
And I was kind of on the tail end of the complete build of the school. It was finished up while I was on the committee, but I still experienced some of that.
Mr. Pacheco.
What did you do to prepare for this interview?
Well, similar to Kevin, I kind of ran through questions that you guys may ask me. I kind of thought of ideas of, what I would say as far as, what I envision for the school and the community and the future. The kids are our bright future and want to support that. And then, kind of been following the whole process of it and attending the meetings as well, or watching them on Zoom. So.
Thank you. You answered my question on the MSBA already.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
This it makes it very easy because we have 4 applicants and 4 positions open. And we've had their resumes for quite some time in their applications. So hence, we didn't have to ask a lot of questions. And if there's a motion on the floor to appoint all 4, somebody can make that.
I would make a motion to appoint all 4 interviewees who are present tonight.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And Peter Karen's an aye. Thank you, folks. Assuming they're going to be sworn in by the town clerk?
Yes. Yes, and probably in the next month or so, the committee will actually form. Once actually, I believe next Tuesday night, the school committee's meeting, and they have an at-large appointment as well, in addition to the 2 members that the school committee has already appointed from the school committee as well. So we'll be in touch with everyone on that whole formation and next steps.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone
Thank
that
you.
applied.
Moving on to C, review, discuss, and act, MSBA, Massachusetts School Building Authority, initial compliance certification.
Yes, as part of the process and the 270-day eligibility period that began on May 1st of this month, the next step in that process, as I outlined earlier this month, all the days seem to blend together lately, but the first requirement is by the 31st of May, both the CEO of the town, which is the Board of Selectmen, and then together with the school committee chair, and the school superintendent have to approve the initial compliance certification. And this really outlines basically everything in much more formal ways that I outlined actually at the last meeting, just in terms of the process, the expectations of the town, and everything else in the process as well that we'll be doing together with the school district and together with the MSBA.
Okay.
So if the board would entertain a motion to approve it and to designate the chairman of the Board of Selectmen to sign that, that would be helpful at this point.
No.
So it was a tough read for me, not being an attorney. This is a lot, and it holds the district pretty accountable, and the town and the taxpayers. So I'm just curious, not that I like to pay attorney's fees for things, but has an attorney reviewed this to look out for the town's behalf?
We hasn't as of yet. This is really the same exact form that the MSBA requires of every town they work with. So it's it's honestly what hundreds of other towns have already entered into in the same way to begin the process. Honestly, I do view it I do view it personally as a pretty perfunctory. We've already applied for the process. We knew the expectations of the process. We knew the expectations of the process at every point of the way so far. In this, the initial compliance certification, basically just formalizes that we understand those.
Okay. My only other question is, it talks about the district, but it's in Dayton. Does that make it? I don't know how to phrase it, but it puts a district liable, but does the school district, is it the town or is it the district, I guess is my question.
When my understanding of this agreement is when when the certification refers to the district, it is truly referring to the district.
So if we approve this, then really, the language in this is really holding the district accountable to these things, that they've looked into all of these. There's, 9 pages, there's 38 items that the district is basically saying we're going to adhere to.
Yes, but because of the interrelationship between us and the district, even though the district is separate, we have to, as a town, be a party to it as well.
Okay.
Any other questions? Why is it the district and not just the town of Dayton?
It's part of, in my understanding, it is part of the, there were many parts, of this process that the town is intertwined with and heavily involved, just like actually, as we just did, forming the structure of the school building committee. But it was also actually the district that was actually responsible for submitting the statement of interest. The statements of interest for these type of projects have to come from the district itself and not the town. And so that's just, there is an intertwinement here, but just in my experience, the MSBA does always begin, actually with the district, but everything that the MSBA does with districts always intertwined with the town.
Any other questions? Then is there a motion on the floor to approve?
Make the motion to approve the initial compliance certificate for the MSBA.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Pete Karen's an aye. Moving on to announcements.
Annual town meeting is scheduled for Monday, June 10th, 2024. The meeting will take place at 7 p.m. at the Dayton Rehoboth High School Auditorium. The Dayton Historical Society presents the 7th Annual Dayton Strawberry Festival that will take place on June 8th, 2024 from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Lions Pavilion. The Town of Dayton Food Bank distribution will be held next on June 15th, 2024, located at the Town Hall. It is at the lower level. Please be advised that increases in the transfer station sticker fee and rates take effect on July 1st, 2024, new fiscal year 2025. Stickers are available for a cost of $30, which will be in effect from July 1st, 2024 to June 30th, 2025. Residents who have purchased a calendar year 2024 ticket will be assessed an additional $15 for an updated fiscal year 2025 sticker for the use of the transfer station after July 1st, 2024. A mailing will be going out to current sticker holders and additional town outreach is planned. Due to significant cost increases being incurred by the town, the transfer station will no longer accept trailer loads of miscellaneous debris as of after July 1st, 2024. There will be a blood drive sponsored by the Dayton Health Department as well as the Police Department on July 13th from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. at Old Town Hall. You can sign up for that online. Board and committees vacancies. The following boards and committees are looking for volunteers. The Cable Committee has 2 openings, Cemetery Commission 3, Commission on Disability 2, and Open Space has 1.
Just one thing on the board and committee vacancy. I received some correspondence from who did I receive it from? Conservation, about an at-large position for the Conservation Commission.
Right.
Is that going to make its way on an agenda?
Not today. One of the goals for the superintendent, for the town administrator this past 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, when we did his evaluation, was to go through the committees and appointments, and give us a report back onto what's open, what each committee has as members, and whether there's going to be at-large members, So I don't want that on the agenda until we find out from him when the goals is completed.
Thank you.
Okay. Nancy, I know we have public input, so I'll let you do the mass challenge.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, members of the board. It's that time of the year again, folks. And this is the card that came out. I hope the camera can pick this up. PMC will be happening the first weekend in August. Everyone knows the Pan Mass Challenge comes through Dayton. The dates this year are August 3rd and 4th. So August the 3rd, the lunch break is at Dayton Rehoboth, as it has been in the past. And I know you volunteered.
Yeah, I already signed up. I'm ready.
See that? Approximately 10,000 cyclists and volunteers will participate in the 45th Pan Mass Challenge to benefit the Dana-Farber Cancer Institute. 100% of every rider-raised dollar goes directly to the Dana-Farber Cancer Institute. The PMC has raised $972 million since 1980 and represents over 62% of the Jimmy Fund's annual revenue. And the reason this says $1 billion, because in 2024, the Pan Mass Challenge cumulative fundraising since its inception in 1980 will surpass the $1 billion mark. So again, folks, August 3rd is the day they'll be coming through Dayton. There are opportunities for you to volunteer, as our town nurse did. Get in touch with the PMC. Donate if you have the ability to donate money, donate services. And if you just want to say hello, be on Horton Street, William Street, Center Street, and wave and wave and wave and support the people who ride. This has been, I don't know how long I've been involved with this, but obviously the main lunch break is at Dayton Rehoboth. So if anyone can do anything, you like to say, even to stand out there, and people do it in the rain, I just wanted you to be aware of this, and I would ask that maybe in June and again in July, that in your announcements, this could be mentioned again, just so people know it's coming. Dayton has done a great job over the years, both from fundraising and supporting and volunteering and everything else. But I just wanted everyone to know, I got the card, so now you have the info.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is the public input portion. Is there anybody else that? Yes, Lenny.
Good afternoon. Leonard Hull, 760 Main Street, Dayton. I must commend you for the cross-section of people that you appointed to the school building committee. And I'm not sure if you're aware that one of the people that you just appointed is an attorney. That would be a huge help. The second thing, in regards to MSBA, their responsibility is more than just brick and mortar. There is educational requirements that are important. And something, please, we cannot downplay this. It is extremely important in developing the relationship that we have with Dayton and Rehoboth, and that is parity, creating a school that we all will be proud of, but it's something that offers the educational opportunities that are comparable to what happens in Rehoboth. MSBA has certain requirements, example, the science labs, gymnasiums. They want to ensure that ADA is met, but also to keep that parity. It prevents, in school districts, if you have one community a lot more affluent than the other, that you don't show up the other town or towns. And that creates problems internally as we go forward. And that was an issue that we've had for a number of years. thanks to Bill Rooney's leadership, have moved beyond that. And it's important we continue that good partnership with our friends in Rehoboth. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else for public input at this time? No one's on. Patrick Higgins left. Okay. Moving on to Selectmen's reports. Are there any? Paul, do you have any?
No, I don't have anything.
No? Okay. Then we'll move on to old business. A, review, discuss, and act final approval in the signing of the June 10th, 2024 annual town meeting warrant.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I'm very happy that we're here at long last. This has been a process, especially brought on by the budget challenges that we learned about through the budget process that that will face us in FY25 and beyond. But we do have a final warrant based on all the Selectmen's recommendations and also the FinCom recommendations that were finalized last week. We're planning for the June 10th annual town meeting with a 38 warrant article. We will, in accordance with the town general bylaw, be posting the warrant tomorrow, and then we will follow up and mail it out to every household in Dayton as well. So we do all the feedback, all the recommendation information that has been provided by the Selectmen in the FinCom as part of this process has been entered in and is all reflected in the final proposed warrant. So if the board would so desire, I would recommend that the board approve the final version of the annual of the annual town meeting warrant. Again, that is scheduled for Monday, June 10th in the Dayton Rehoboth High School auditorium, and as part of that also vote to sign that as well.
Nicole, do you have any questions?
No.
Nope, I've had a chance to review. Looks fine.
Great. Then is there a motion on the floor to accept?
I'd like to make a motion to approve and sign the warrant for the annual town meeting on June 10th, 2024.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Review, discuss, and act. Facilities request from the Dayton Rehoboth Boys/Girls Soccer Car Wash at the Highway Garage.
I only had one thing on that, and I can't find, okay, here it was. It's, if we could change on the form, we still have, under Board of Health, we still have Mr. Pilling.
Okay,
But
yep.
then we have somebody else that's signing, if we could just get that changed.
Nope, yeah.
Same for the police department as well.
Oh, yes, thank you.
Thank you. And I don't want to make excuses, but the applicant may have had also an older version of the form as well, so we'll make sure that we send out to all the applicants who do this on a regular basis that they have the updated forms as well.
Thank you, that makes sense. I was wondering why I hadn't seen it before, and all of a sudden I was.
Thank you.
Okay, is there a motion on the floor?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the facilities request for the DR Boys and Girls Soccer Car Wash at the Highway Garage.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. The review, discuss, and act the pilot agreement amendment for 1401 William Street, map 12, lot 25.
Ms. Goulart, do you want to explain this if that's okay?
Nancy Goulart, 631 Gray Terrace, North Dayton. This is the first pilot agreement that the town executed, 1401 William Street. It's a very small solar farm. It's located diagonally across the road from where the Arujo farm stand used to be, where Mount Hope Builders is now located. But you'll see a gravel drive that kind of goes off towards the east, and that's where they're located. It has changed hands. It has changed ownership. So according to the pilot agreement, in order for that to happen, they have to give written notification to the board, and the board acts on approval of that transfer. and signs the appropriate forms, and we'll get the new owners to sign. And then that takes care of the change of ownership. Of the other pilot agreements we have in place, ownership has not changed. We have one that will be coming up at town meeting. The name's changed 4 times, but by the time we get to town meeting, the name that will be on it will be the one that is owning it that night. But these are investments, so they get sold. But this is the actual first one, 1401 Williams. And so this is a procedural thing based on the terms and conditions of that original pilot agreement. I think it was approved in 2015.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. You guys have a chance to read it?
Yes.
Okay. Any questions?
Nope.
No.
Okay, is there a motion on the floor?
I'll make a motion to approve the pilot agreement for 1401 William Street, map 12, lot 25.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. This is a review, discuss, and act again for the proposed renewed employment for the town assessor. What I have pilot agreement?
Yeah, like, so,
Stephanie.
the town assessor, was hired in the fall of 2021, with initial employment contract that expires, June 30th of this year, at the end of the fiscal year. We have been working, with the principal assessor. She has been working with the Board of Assessors. They have worked out, an agreement for a 3-year contract renewal for the principal assessor, who has been a pleasure to work with, and a pleasure to have as part of our financial team as well. And so at the last Board of Assessors meeting last week, they had approved a 3-year contract renewal, and now it's being presented presented to the Board of Selectmen for
Okay.
approval as well. And the contract itself basically follows the same updated non-union contract template that we have with all the same uniform provisions for a lot, actually for most of our non-union employees who do have an employment contract with the town.
Any concerns?
I have a couple, if you don't mind. Under compensation, it doesn't actually say what the assessor's gonna make. It starts off to say, it says the annual base salary as follows, and then when you go on to it, it says the annual base, town assessor's annual base salary shall be increased by 2.5%. But my understanding is a contract, it has to be within the contract. So her contract's going to go away after June 30th. And when the new contract starts, there's actually not a base salary that is listed. So that was just one thing I noticed. Under sick leave, it doesn't say it's going to accrue. It just says sick leave shall consist of 1 day per month, not to exceed 12 days per year. But I just would like that clarified a little bit. Under group health insurance, it mentions La Violette, who is a former employee, so that needs to be updated to reflect Stephanie's last name. Under performance, so it references her and the whole employment contract until performance, and then it's his. And then under renewal of agreement, it says it can be renewed at least 60 days, but the number is 90. And then on the last page, under Mark Pacheco, it lists me as member, I'm the clerk, and Nicole is the member. So every page needs some updates. So I would recommend we put this on the next agenda.
Nope, makes sense.
Okay, good catch, Mark.
Thank you.
Okay, is there a motion on the floor to table?
Motion to table.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Review, discuss, and act. Council on Aging surplus and disposable items. Just take them as printed, Mike?
Yes.
as printed in the...
Yeah, as proposed.
As proposed in the agenda.
Presented.
Any questions about them?
I'd make a motion to approve the Council on Aging surplus and disposal items as presented.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Town Administrator's report.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just actually, like, one quick thing that's not on the agenda. Like, early this week, late yesterday afternoon, we received an update from Woodard and Curran, who's been working with us in the water district on the water district analysis. They have been making progress, and they're working to really come up with a draft, kind of like a draft overview of, really their findings and what they want to present. To that end, they are hoping, and they have asked for our help in trying to coordinate a joint meeting between the Selectmen and the Water District sometime in mid-June. We do have a lot of things happening in June, and so one of the things, and we don't have to have an answer now, but just for planning purposes, I was kind of, so Wednesday, June 17th is actually, whatever that Wednesday is that week, it's actually Juneteenth. That's when the Juneteenth holiday is celebrated on. So if we had an opportunity to have a meeting that evening, that might get just clunky with involvement of people. And so the date, I was just actually thinking to throw out there as a potential now. Could be the Monday. I thought originally it was June 15th, but I think my dates are wrong because Juneteenth, as we know, falls on a specific date. I'm sorry, so it would be Monday, June 17th, just as an option. Again, we don't have to finalize that out there now, but I do just want to share with the board and the public that we're on the verge of having some recommendations from that analysis, in Woodard and Curran, based on the scope that we agreed to with the Water District at the beginning of the project. Does want to just bring us in the Water District together to review those, and to discuss those, so we can finalize and have approval of that analysis and the recommendations by the have it completed by the end of the fiscal year. That is actually when the grant expires that we have, so that's what we're working to do right now. So I have that. I just wanted to provide an update on that. And also, just actually going back to the agenda, I just want to share with the board and the public that it is with very, very bittersweet emotions that I share today that I have accepted a position in another community, and that I plan to resign from my position serving as Dayton's second ever town administrator on a date that is mutually agreeable to myself and the Board of Selectmen. I am immensely, immensely proud of the success and the accomplishments that I've helped to lead and achieve as Dayton's town administrator. Together, we have strengthened our financial management and our fiscal planning practices. We have established a capital planning process. We have built up, and I really want to thank Karen Brady for all her work. We have built up a town human resources function, and we continue working to better align land use permitting processes. We have also secured more than $4 million in state, federal, and related grant funding to address long-time needs, like the replacement of the Pleasant Street Bridge at Muddy Cove, in the more than 25-year effort to bring a library building project to fruition with the acquisition of 207 Main Street. It goes without saying that I have truly, truly enjoyed my work on behalf of the Dayton community. But many of the efforts required in the role of Dayton's town administrator are becoming unsustainable. In addition, the role has also brought with it additional sacrifices for my young family. I love being a devoted husband and a proud dad as much as I thrive on having a successful and impactful career as a municipal leader. I am looking forward to a new role where I will bring the same type of and the same kind of work ethic for which I'm known, but also that allows me to have a more sustainable balance, especially for my family. I'm committed to working with the board to ensure a smooth transition. I truly thank each of you. I like all the members of the board for whom I have worked, who I'm very blessed to also have here tonight as well, that I didn't have any idea until I walked in that they would be joining us. But our valued department heads and our dedicated employees, I like, and most of all, the Dayton community for your support during these last 3 years. I am and I will always remain grateful to serve and to have served in such an impactful way. So I feel like I just wanted to share that, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, and to the public, and I thank you again.
I wish we didn't have to accept it, Mike.
That is all I have tonight, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. And moving on, not that I want to, but to acknowledgements. A. Britt Grealish Rust, adult circulation librarian, is retiring, and she has given her retirement notice.
Yes.
And I know we have budgeted her retirement.
Yes, yeah, and this is just one, two, no. Like if the board, like if the board would, if the board would entertain accepting Ms. Grealish West's resignation for the purposes of retirement, that would be great. Like, and we do have everything, we do have everything already budgeted in line with the collective bargaining agreement.
So is there a motion on the floor, please?
Can we, before we move on too fast, can I respond on the town administrator report?
Sure.
Okay, thanks. When I think of public servant, I think of Michael Mullen. You are truly I've never seen anyone give so much as you have to our town. You're a true Daytonian, so even though you're going to leave us, once you're one of us. So thank you for your service. I told you I look up to you in many ways. You are a wonderful leader, and I will sorely miss you. But I'm excited for you and your family. So I just wanted to thank you for that. And I agree with your sentiment that the role of the town administrator is becoming unsustainable. I don't know how anybody could be expected to do what the Dayton town administrator does. So I would just say we do have a resignation, and we have to act on moving the town. You know, we have business to do as well, so I think we need a special meeting to discuss how we move forward. I'm sure Nicole has other things she wants to say, but I do think next week we should meet on planning. I don't know how your schedules look.
I don't know, we'll have to talk about that without pulling up my schedule from home. Are you thinking next Wednesday?
Yeah, Monday or Wednesday, I think.
Okay. Monday is Memorial Day.
Wednesday. Yes. Yep.
That's the 29th. Nicole, do you have anything you want to add? Not at this time?
It's really hard to talk about it, because Mike's not just our town administrator, he's my friend. I probably talk to him more than I talk to my family.
Sorry about that.
And I probably got him pulled over a couple times because we always talk at the same place where...
Yeah, and I don't have Bluetooth set up on one of my phones, it's bad.
I think, what is it, Bridgewater cops just wait for
I'm
you.
not going to say the town.
I'll tell them where you are. But I mean, I can't even say what a loss this is for us, for the whole town. And I appreciate so much what you did.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's a difficult situation. We've been friends now for a couple of years, and so I feel like I'm losing a friend in addition to a great town administrator, and I don't know how to recover from that. It's going to take a while, and as it is for you. Obviously, you're on to something that's different and earned, as well as your family comes first, and hopefully you'll always remember us as your family as well. But I don't know how to go forward.
I just want to add one thing about Mike, is he is truly a kind person and he cares about everyone, and I think that's very rare these days. So thank you, Mike.
Thank you. Very well said.
Mr. Chairman, can we get a little bit of public input on this right now?
No, we're going to wait till we have public input again.
We're almost there. So we read the acknowledgement, so I'd like to make a motion to accept Britt Grealish-Russ retirement notice with thanks and appreciation.
I'd like to second that.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we have approval of the warrants.
Oh, real quick, I just want to say, I know Britt's not here, I wish she was, and I'll see her probably at the building committees, but thank you for everything that she's done. When I think of the library, it's who I think of, because that's who I would always see there, so really appreciate all the time that she's put in. She walks by my house all the time, so I'll give her a wave.
20-some-odd years, I think she's been there.
Yes, that's amazing.
It is. For such a small town, to have somebody here for that long is truly amazing. Again, the approval of the warrants, does somebody, Mark, do you have them?
I'd like to make a motion for the approval of the warrants paid on May 16, 2024, 47A-24, in the amount of $120,596.11, 47B-24, in the amount of $395,237.17, and 47C-24, in the amount of $21,629.82.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 And I'd like to make a motion to pay the warrants of May 23rd, 2024, 48A-24, in the amount of $116,071.38, 48B-24, in the amount of $85,160.13, and 48C-24, in the amount of $1,471,366.63.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Jonathan, I didn't mean to be rude. I just knew public input was coming up. So, would you like to come first? Okay.
Wow.
Thank you for starting to cry.
You're welcome, anytime.
So first, because this is a town, we're a community, and we're also, in some essences, a business. So I hope the board doesn't lose sight of how we got to this point. This is the second town administrator that we've lost in 5 years. That's problematic. We've been focused with the petition that's being presented for our annual town meeting on saving that position because it is so very important to this town to move us forward and let us progress and get things done. I don't think it's possible, and I think most of the members of this board would agree that you don't have the time or energy to do what the town administrator does. So it's an essential part of this community. Now that I get that out of the way, I'm going to talk about the person, because I feel like, one, that petition was based on the person and not the position. And Mike Mullen is probably like one of the greatest people I've ever met. It's no secret that Mike and I are great friends, and I can say for me, with everything that I've been able to accomplish in this town, I wouldn't have been able to do a single thing if it wasn't for his friendship. Every last thing I've done on Parks and Rec, things that we've been able to do on CPC, open space, it's been because of his leadership, his friendship, and his knowledge. I'm so sad to see him go, but I'm also so happy to see you take a next step, because I think you personally deserve better than what we've been able to give you. And I hope you find that in your next role. And I hope everybody in the public takes note of that. And I hope that the board takes note of that we need to find a way to treat our town employees who work their butts off for us. We need to treat them better. We need to do something that makes them want to stay here. It's heartbreaking to work in this town and see a quality employee leave because of the atmosphere that this town is. We need to hold ourselves accountable. And just as a side note, if members of the community have an issue with something that a town employee is doing, take it to the board that oversees that employee. Don't take it to the employee. Like, please, like, let's protect. I think we all love and appreciate everyone that works in town hall. So let's all work together to make sure that those people are protected and that they stay here. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin.
It's like having a service with your left hand. Yeah, it's like having a service dog. Sorry. So what I'm going to say first is one of the things, and I say this as a person with a disability too, when Mike first interviewed, and it was clear to all of us that Mike has his own disability, he wasn't afraid to say it in the interview and to be very open and frank about it. So for me, personally, as a person with a disability, number one, that means a lot. A huge amount, because I know, as Mike knows, what it takes to get up in front of a group, whether we're talking like we are today, or running a meeting, or just giving information out. I know what it takes when you have a disability to have to do that and get the information out. And we all have our own way of doing it. I have my way, Mike has his way. That is difficult. That's a challenge every single day for those of us who have disability. So kudos to you for doing that. It takes a lot to be willing to do that publicly, knowing how it feels internally. Unless you have a disability, you don't understand it. So for those of us who have disability like myself and Mike, I appreciate everything you go through every time you literally have to open your mouth. That means a huge amount.
Thank you.
The other thing I would say is somewhat echoing what Kevin said to some extent, in that since we've had town administrators, plural, I feel like the first town administrator was pushed out because of the demands that were made of her, collectively by the entire process, but to some extent even by individuals. And I feel that that same thing is happening again. I see the commitment, no pun intended, that our TA makes every day. I hear him early in the morning, in working, here late in the day, going home 11, 12 o'clock at night, not getting a chance to be with his family who he cares about and loves so much. And it's easy for people to throw someone under the bus for the small things. It's not so easy for people to recognize all of the big things that they do. And I feel that that's enormously understated for all that he's brought to this town. It's not just that he's brought in millions of dollars in grants to the town. It's that he's worked tirelessly with different departments, with different individuals, including myself as the ADA coordinator, to bring in these grants. We wouldn't have a website that's one of the best in the state. We wouldn't have accessible lavatories in our town hall, in our old town hall. We wouldn't have a North Dayton Park if we weren't working with our Parks Commission. We wouldn't have so many other things that we have for people with disabilities if he wasn't taking the lead on these types of things and making them happen. You can't rule a town by this size anymore by committee. It's not possible. There's too many fingers in the pie. There's too many people looking out for themselves. There's infighting that goes on. There's a lack of communication, and there's not responsiveness. So what I caution people is, when you're moving forward, you have to think about the type of person you want in this role and what the expectation is for them to commit to the job. They sign a contract for a 37.5-hour week, I suppose. That's probably what it is. But we're expecting them to put in 70 hours a week. It's not a possibility. It's impossible, especially if they have a family and they care about their family and their own peace of mind and their health. That has to come first. We all say we want to put our health first. Well, I commend the TA for putting his health and his family first. It takes a big person to do that. It's even harder to step down from a job you love. And we heard him say so many times, I love this town, I never want to leave this town. I will say again, I think unfortunately, because of a few situations that people fail to discuss with him directly or bring to him directly perhaps, or discuss specifically with his boss, whom are you, this person is being forced out of this community. We have no right to expect what we expect from a TA without honestly acknowledging the work involved, the ethics involved, the care involved, and what it does to the individual. I've enjoyed working with our town administrator. Mike and I don't always agree on everything. We don't have to. But as I've noted in something earlier when I was here, the important part about it is we're able to talk about it. I listen to him, he listens to me. We don't argue about it, we don't fight about it. I respect what he has to say, he respects what I have to say. And you know what? In the end, we come to a meeting of the minds. That's the process. That's the way it should be done. And there, you know, I think the vitriol that goes along with some of the things that have gone on in this town, which I firmly believe has something to do with him leaving, not to mention the time he needs with his family, has to stop. So thank you, Mr. Administrator, for everything you've done for the town, what you've done for people with disabilities, and what you've done to support my role as the ADA coordinator. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Keel.
Yes, Nancy.
I'm not going to cry. Nancy Goulart, 631 Gray Terrace, North Dayton. I've had the honor and the pleasure to appoint the 2 town administrators that we had and got to know both of them very well. I saw the first town administrator at the annual MMA meeting back in January, and she came up to me and gave me a big hug, which would have surprised a lot of people in this town. We accomplished a great deal together. And over the years, we've had conversations and we used to laugh because I'd say, we got to be careful. If people think we're working together, they're going to be disappointed. But we did accomplish a great deal. And I'm going to give Mike the same advice I gave to her. In her case, she had an opportunity. A good town administrator, if you keep them 3 years, you're lucky because they can practically go anywhere and name their own price. I think that's important to show that the town administrators we had were certainly well qualified, did their jobs, enough so that somebody else is saying, hey, you know what? We might want to take a look at this candidate. My advice to Mallory, Mrs. Aaronstein, and to Mike, you're a young man, you've got your entire career ahead of you, you have got a young family that deserves your attention, and your priorities are straight as an arrow. The fact that you recognize that, what is important in your life, along with your career, is your wife and kids. You don't want to miss those kids growing up. A lot of people are very successful, and quite often, whichever parent is the one that is there all the time, because if they both work, it's difficult. But it's a trade-off. And sometimes one member does not get to spend the amount of time they should, and they turn around and the kid's graduating from high school, and it's like, what happened? Where was I? So for Mike, you're headed in the right direction. I'm sorry to see you go. We've worked together, we've had disagreements, but we resolved them. We were able to work professionally. We could talk straight out. Honestly, I have a great deal of respect and admiration for him. And I'm sure wherever you go, you're going to make out fine because your head is on straight and you know where you're going. I just want to point out a couple of things that you will take with you from Dayton. Linguiça.
Charisse.
No.
Oh, there's a difference.
Linguiça.
I'm just gonna stop now.
But you mentioned Charisse. You know, you don't spell Charisse the way you say it. So he wanted to know what chicorio was. Or is it chorizo? Oh, no. Charisse is something totally different, similar to, but different from linguiça. He had his first linguiça pizza with us at a stormwater meeting, okay? That was his introduction. The other thing you learned was the other end of the meal spectrum, malasada. So, Mike, you'll know what those are, and if you're in a community that has a Portuguese population, you know what you order when you go to eat or when you hit the bakery. But my very best to you, Mike, and if I can do anything for you, feel free anytime to get in touch with me.
Thank you, Nancy. Thank you.
Ken.
I'm gonna go really quick, because I gotta get back to lacrosse. I apologize. Can I just take 1 second? I'll take
1
2.
second.
Melissa Babby, 1241. You wanna come up here with me? Melissa Babby, 1241 Smith Street, North Dayton. Not Dayton, North Dayton. I just want to say, I am behind the scenes. You don't really see me much. But Mike, damn you. He told me to be here tonight, and now I'm gonna cry. I've done enough crying. I just want to say thank you. I know, right? I just want to say thank you for everyone in Dayton. You have just done so much for us. And I am so sad to see you go. And there's never going to be another Mike. Ever. You have done so much for this community, and there are people that don't see that. And if I can kick them, I would, but I can't. Steve Hathaway will come get me. Laugh at me, but come get me. I just want to say thank you for all that you do, and you do so well. And I can appreciate you being the family guy, because I see that. And I know you're the great best dad, best husband, and best town administrator. So thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. Thank you.
So Kenny Pacheco, 1860 Milk Street, Dayton, of course. As you know, I used to sit up there. I was up there for about 5 years. I don't miss it. But I was on the board when Mike was appointed. I made the motion to appoint Mike, and it was seconded, and it passed, and I never regretted that decision. I'm not going to talk about all the things that he's done. Other people made those comments. I want to talk about the man, have a personal conversation. He was like me. I always would tell people, as he did, my job and my family are the two most important things, but not in that order. So as much as I regret you leaving, I believe that you're making the right decision, because you have a lovely family. I've known them. We talked about their birthdays. Their birthday's near my birthday. Not the same age, obviously. But he is a good man. I believe the town is going to have some difficulties now in the future. He was always, when I had my stroke, he was one of those that was in contact with me all the time, making sure I was okay. So, Mike, I'm going to miss you a lot. We need to stay in touch, and we need to have that drink someday. So,
yeah.
Mike, I'm going to miss you.
Thanks.
Sorry.
Just for the record, I'm not going tomorrow. I'm going to be here for a few
of Leonard Ho, 760 Main Street. Michael, thank you for all that you've done in support of me and in support of the town of Dayton. You are an incredibly loving and caring individual who showed what government really is about: caring for and supporting people. The young, people with disabilities, seniors. I want to thank you. Regarding your work ethic, when I was chairman, one day in particular, at 6:30 in the morning, we were on the phone. At 11 o'clock at night, we were walking out of this building. He had been in the office from 6:30 that morning till the time we walked out of here. That shows the dedication that this man had to this community. And going forward, the Board of Selectmen, based on what has happened in the last 5 years, really needs to take a look at what the town administrator position is going to be. Are we going to have a strong TA, executive Board of Selectmen, or like Rehoboth, a strong Board of Selectmen and a TA who acts as an administrator? And as you go forward, I would suggest that you take a serious look at that. during the interim while you have the opportunity. Also, I'm not sure if all of you are aware, but you could reach out to the MMA for assistance in finding an interim. Our experience after the first TA left was to appoint the chairman at the time of the Board of Selectmen. And that has its pluses and minuses. But I also know that all three of you work quite a few hours. And based on what Mike puts in for a day, I don't know if any of you really want to put in 12-hour days after working at least 8 in your regular job. In closing, Mike, you've had such a positive influence and created a very family-like atmosphere in the Board of Selectmen office with Leanne, Karen. And
You're amazing.
it wasn't just a job, it was a passionate experience. And I want to thank you, and I learned a lot from you. And I will leave you with this thought. I met an individual that you introduced me to 3 years ago. And that man spoke tremendously about you. That man is Paul Feeney, the chairman of the Joint Senate House Ways Committee for the state of Massachusetts. Your influence and your passion has gone outside of the town of Dayton, and I'm quite confident it will continue wherever you go, because that's the person that you are. Thank you.
Does anybody else want to come up?
Alicia Wilson, 2043 Somerset Ave, Dayton. I just have to say that I've known Mike for a short time in Dayton over the past 2 years. And in that time, he has made himself available. He's called me on weekends. He's texted me about concerns, emailed back and forth. He truly shows what an amazing town administrator can do, and especially when they have a heart for the town and for the people of the town. I've interacted with him on committees and personally with events in my community, and he's always availed himself to make himself available for questions, concerns, not just to me, but other members in the community as well. And I see that, and I hope the town sees that, and that if somebody is half of the town administrator that he is, we would be lucky. He's just an amazing guy, and I commend you for going forth and, you know, considering your family. I know what that's like. And obviously you've made yourself available and into your personal life, and not just in the hours of the town. And that's something tremendous. It's taxing as well, I know, from my own experience. And I thank you for that. And I hope the town thanks you for all the service that you've given to us, because it really is amazing. And just in the short time, I've seen what a truly amazing person you are. So thank you.
Thank you, Alicia. Thank you.
Laura Medeiros, 1645 Maple Street. I'm going to kind of speak from a COA, Council on Aging hat. My plan was to write you a personal note when I heard, but I think this is actually really great how everyone's coming up and speaking about everything that you've done that helped our town. And one of them that we've heard tremendously from a lot of people from the board, other boards, seniors, residents, is how excited they are about the reorganization at the Council on Aging. And I don't think all that credit goes to us. A lot of it goes to you. I know when Bella took over as director, you really helped shape how that department was going to look. You got us over $200,000 in grants. We're starting the patio project. We have new ADA doors coming through, new programs, ways to fund programs. All of that was completely new to me, Bella, and Trista. We've never worked with grants before. None of that would have been possible. None of what's happening there would have happened if it weren't for you. So thank you. And I just wanted the town to really hear that. Because they're giving us all the thank yous, and personally, I think you deserve the majority of them. We're just kind of the people processing the paperwork, but you're the one who really helped us really do it. So thank you for everything you did, and we'll be pretty damn lucky if the next person is, like she said, half the person you are, because you really got us a lot in this town. So thank you for everything.
Yeah, thank you for that. But like, I just want to say for the record, the Council on Aging absolutely shines. Bella, Laura, Trista, the program, what you've done, all what the team there has done is absolutely incredible.
Thank you for all your help.
So, thank you.
Anybody else want to come up? Yes. Mr. Carpenter? Yes.
David Carpenter, 1595 William Street. Mike, I've never had the pleasure of working with you directly, just tangentially in my previous stint with the Finance Committee, but one of the things that I've noticed about you is not just your proficiency, but your overall kindness. And I got to tell you, that is a commodity that is in very, very short supply these days. And it's very difficult to find somebody who can actually just be kind as a real person to somebody. I don't know how else to describe it, but in all my dealings with you, you've always been kind, you've always been professional, friendly, polite. I feel like I could come to you with any problem and worked it out with you no matter what. So thank you, and the town is sorely going to miss somebody with your qualities, and I hope we find somebody with even half. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Carpenter.
Good evening, Paul Reynolds, 725 Main Street. As somebody who has a tendency to be kind of long-winded, I don't have very much to say tonight. But also as somebody who for many years commuted 2 hours each way into Boston and could not make it through the song Cats in the Cradle without getting emotional, I completely understand you prioritizing your family and doing what you need to do to really take care of what matters most in life. In the time that we've worked together, you've been an incredibly supportive, dedicated professional. You've done everything that has been asked of you, and you've done many things that have not been asked of you. As a new elected official, new to municipal government, my first term, you did not have to go above and beyond to provide the support and at times accountability that I needed in order to thrive and to learn the functions and responsibilities of my job. And I feel you've gone above and beyond in every way. You've been a tremendous support. I would not have grown and developed the confidence in my position if I had not been able to lean on you at times. I'm going to really miss you. I've sincerely appreciated the time that we've spent working together. And all I would ask is that before you go, if you could, register a trailer or something so I can send you an excise bill to remember me by.
How is that a good memento?
But I just want to thank you, and it's been a pleasure to work with you.
Thank you, Paul.
Is there anybody else before we go on to executive session? Okay.
I gotta just,
Sure.
his resignation letter asked for a date. I think we owe him a date tonight because it's gonna go on.
Yeah, no, the
We're
one.
going to do an executive session.
Yeah, the one thing too, because my contract is clear about dates. Yeah, like I am hoping to talk with the board about that in exec for.
Okay,
first.
perfect.
That's okay.
And I'm just not totally convinced we're gonna meet next week based on my comments. We need to move the town forward, so I just wanna get a commitment. I know you don't know your schedule, but we do need to meet next week, so.
Sure.
That's okay with you?
I'm
Okay.
just not sure it's gonna be Wednesday night, but.
No, that's
we'll
fine,
find
as long as we
something.
meet next week.
I just want to say, if it's not Wednesday night next week, doesn't look good for
Okay.
me, just because I have some work things at night next week. But Wednesday's like my only day.
Okay.
But I'll try hard to make something else work if it comes down to that, but I just want it out there.
Okay. And I just have one more concern. I know Mike has going to have a limited time with us now, and I feel every department is going to try to kind of close up their loose ends. But our town administrator, I'm sure he has loose ends that he knows what's best for our town, like what loose ends he has to clean up.
Mhm.
And I just thought we should have some sort of communication to town employees that, not to isolate you in any way, but any needs of our town administrator to go through our staff first, because a lot of questions they can probably answer, Karen or Leanne, because I don't want Mike's schedule to fill up, and I know he probably won't say no because he's such a hard worker, and I really want to make sure, like, we got to get used to, it's not going to be here soon, and so let's get used to it now, and only go to Mike if we need to, because I don't want your workload to increase. We want to start taking things off your plate.
Yeah, no, and like what I can do to that point, I mean, I want to be like, I mean, like I had to, I had to communicate this information formally to the board, like into the public tonight. I did. I have been trying to, just in terms of our department heads, I don't want them, and I didn't want them to be caught off guard, but I do think as a follow-up to tonight, I do need to reach out to our town employees. I can really truly share with them the same information, so it's, it's really like uniform information with everyone having the same information at this point, but I think really creating that expectation, just in terms of timing with everything we do have happening, as I mentioned, we're preparing for the town meeting, we're preparing for the end of FY24, we have things we need to do to get our ducks in a row there. As I mentioned earlier, we have a number of grant projects that have closeout dates of June 30th as well. Those are all priorities, so those are going to be my priorities. But to, in essence, create a triaging process and to communicate that with all of our department's employees, I do think is extremely critical right now. So if it's okay, I can follow up with our town employees, with our board and committees as well, to really create and set that expectation, so we're all operating along the same plan going forward.
Yeah, and as many things that we can put on an agenda instead of you having to deal with it. Let's do it, I think we should, it's so important, we should put it in a motion, because I think that's important, for your communication.
Put what in a motion?
I would make a motion that the
that
town
it's a directive of
administrator.
the Board of Selectmen that they
Yes.
first go.
Sure.
Yep, that we have a
They try to
directive.
work with, and go through, our administrative staff, just to be mindful of my time priorities. I mean, I can word it something to that. Extent, but I think that generally describes, I think.
Yes, exactly. I would put that in a motion.
Okay. We have to figure out a way to word it, or we're just
So
going to take.
I'll make a motion that the Board of Selectmen has in a kind of an executive order that any needs from our department heads and our town employees go through the Board of Selectmen's office, and as much as possible, we put on this board instead of our town administrator.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Great. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Okay. We're going to go into executive session, and we're not going to be returning. So under Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 30A, Sections 21A2, to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel, or to conduct collective bargaining sessions or contract negotiations with non-union personnel. the town administrator, administrative assistant to the Board of Selectmen, and town administrator, executive assistant, human resource coordinator, under Massachusetts General Law 30A, Sections 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigation position of the public body, and the chair so declares, and the chair does declare. This is for the Dayton firefighters, Local 4332, Dayton police officers, Local 306, and Dayton dispatchers communication employees. Is there a motion to go into executive session?
Motion to go into executive session as stated.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.